Chapter 998. 998 Extremely Shameless. Lu Ming smiled faintly. The Floating Mountain sect is an overlord force. I didn't expect that their disciples would be so pathetic. They actually dared to snatch a famous girl. How disappointing. Lu Ming shook his head and sighed. Ling Kai's face was dark. He shouted, "Kid, you dare to look down on the Floating Mountain Martial School. You have no chance to live now. You will die." "What do you mean by contempt? If the people of the Floating Mountain sect are like you or Ling Yunkong, I think they are not far from destruction," Lu Ming said loudly with a faint smile. The hearts of the people around twitched and they gasped. This Lu Ming was too bold. He actually dared to say such things about Ling Yunkong and the Floating Mountain. Although they thought the same in their hearts, they didn't dare to say a word. What a big mouth. What kind of trash are you? How dare you criticize young Master Yunkong and the Floating Mountain? Kill him. Kill him. Ling Kai said coldly and waved his hand. Behind him, 5 young men rushed out at the same time, and 5 long swords were aimed at Lu Ming. These 5 youths were the same as the previous one in their early 30s. They couldn't be considered prodigies, but their combat strength wasn't weak either. They were all experts of the first-level spirit embryo realm. Lu Ming sighed in his heart. The Central Continent was indeed the center of the divine wilderness continent. It was a holy land for cultivation and there were many experts. There weren't many in the Eastern Barren Territory who had reached the spirit embryo realm in their 30s, but they had encountered one after another here. Get lost. Lu Ming spat out a word and a long spear appeared in his hand. The long spear trembled and 5 spear lights appeared, stabbing at the 5 young men. Blood splattered everywhere. The 5 young men screamed and quickly retreated. A bloody hole appeared on each of their shoulders and blood flowed out. The 5 young men's faces were pale and their eyes were filled with fear. If Lu Ming's spear gleam had been aimed at their throats, they would have been dead. Now get lost. Lu Ming shouted coldly, his eyes like lightning as he stared at Ling Kai. Brat, you're looking for death. Not only did Ling Kai not retreat, but his killing intent grew even stronger. Buzz. A big fish appeared above Ling Kai's head. This fish was extremely ferocious. It was like a battle sword. It had a slender body and a fierce look in its eyes. The ancient swordfish was Ling Kai's bloodline. On it, 3 golden chakras shone. Ling Kai was an expert who had awakened a 3rd-level divine-level bloodline and was a prodigy among prodigies. Even though Lu Ming's combat strength was not weak, he was not afraid. With his combat power, it was enough to deal with a 4th-level spirit embryo realm expert. Buzz. Sword radiance burst out from Ling Kai's hands, and countless sword chi shot toward Lu Ming. With a shake of the spear, the space buzzed and endless spear radiance appeared. Clang, clang, clang. The rapid sound of metal clashing rang out, extremely dense and rang out for a few hundred times. Then Ling Kai's figure retreated rapidly. Several holes appeared on his body and blood flowed out. His face was pale and extremely gloomy. It was obvious that Lu Ming had been merciful. However, Ling Kai was not grateful. Instead, he felt even more resentful. In his heart, Lu Ming did not dare to kill him because he was a member of the Floating Mountain sect. It was only natural that Lu Ming would not kill him. However, Lu Ming had injured him and embarrassed him. If he could not answer to Ling Yunkong when he returned, it would be a great sin. Brat, just you wait, just you wait. Go. Ling Kai roared and turned around with the others, turning into a few sword lights and disappearing into the sky. Lu Ming did not give chase. If he was alone, he would not mind killing these pieces of trash. He would not even frown. However, he had to take the Xiao family into consideration. That was why he showed mercy. Zhen Alei and Xiao Zhan were a little dazed. They did not expect Lu Ming to be so powerful that even Ling Kai was no match for him and was easily defeated. Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning were also dumbfounded, but at the same time, their expressions were extremely ugly. Brat, how dare you to injure a Heaven's Pride expert of the Floating Mountain sect? It's fine if you want to die, but don't drag our Xiao family into this. At this moment, Desolate Ning strode out with a gloomy face. He pointed at Lu Ming and cursed. Lu Ming furrowed his brows and a murderous intent flashed in the depths of his eyes. Shut up. Little brother Lu is trying to save us. Xiao Zhan scolded. Grandpa, you're old and muddle-headed. What do you mean save us? You're clearly trying to harm us. Letting Ling Kai take Alei and Ajin away was the best choice. That way our Xiao family would have a bright future. Now it's all ruined by this kid. Our Xiao family is going to be in deep trouble. Desolate Ning shouted, his face twisted. You. Evil beast. Xiao Zhan glared at Xiao Ning, his body trembling with anger. Ninger is right. Little brat, I knew you didn't have any good intentions. You framed our Xiao family, and now you've offended young Master Ling Yunkong. We're all going to be in trouble. Xiao Hongyun stepped forward and said coldly. Haha, setting up your Xiao family and bringing disaster upon your family? Laughable, truly laughable. Who was the one who killed the Xiao clan's disciple just now? Me? Lu Ming laughed heartily. Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning were truly shameless. Just now, when the disciples of the Floating Mountain Martial School killed several people from the Xiao family, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning did not even say a word. Now that Lu Ming had helped the Xiao family to repel Ling Kai and the others, these two people jumped out and accused him. Was there such a ridiculous thing in the world? What's the big deal with the death of a few Xiao family's trash? Who told them to be so disobedient? Desolate Ning sneered. Pa. Lu Ming slapped Xiao Ning's face with the back of his hand. Xiao Ning spun dozens of times in the air and then fell heavily to the ground. His face was swollen like a pig's head and he looked at Lu Ming with a dumbfounded expression. Lu Ming actually dared to hit him? In my eyes, you're also a piece of trash. Why don't you just go and die? Lu Ming looked down at Desolate Ning and said coldly. How dare you? I'll take you down right now, destroy your cultivation, and send you to apologize to young Master Ling Yunkong. Xiao Hongyun bellowed as the aura on his body burst forth. He took a step forward and charged toward Lu Ming, sending a palm strike at him. 5th level of the Spirit Embryo Realm. Xiao Hongyun's cultivation had reached the 5th level of the Spirit Embryo Realm. With his cultivation he could have stopped Ling Kai earlier. However, he did not move at all earlier and now he wanted to take down Lu Ming. Stop! Xiao Zhan shouted in anger. He had never thought that Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning would be so shameless. He was so angry that he almost vomited blood. However, his cultivation had yet to fully recover. It was too late to stop Xiao Hongyun. Lu Ming did not move in the face of Xiao Hongyun's palm. It was as if he had no intention of retaliating. Xiao Hongyun's heart skipped a beat as he had a bad feeling. This kid is so young and I've never heard of his name. I don't believe that he's my match. With that thought in mind, Xiao Hongyun's palm force grew stronger and blasted toward Lu Ming. Just as the palm force was about to hit Lu Ming moved his feet slightly and dodged Xiao Hongyun's palm. At the same time, Lu Ming stretched out his palm and grabbed Xiao Hongyun's face, pressing it against the ground. Boom. The ground trembled as Xiao Hongyun's face came into close contact with the ground, creating a huge pit in the ground. Smoke and dust filled the air. Xiao Hongyun let out a terrible scream, like a lazy toad that had been stepped on. Chapter 999. 999 Intimate Contact with the Ground. When the dust settled, Xiao Hongyun was lying on the ground like a dead dog. His face was completely deformed, blood constantly oozing out of his mouth, and his body was twitching. It was a terrible sight. The surrounding onlookers were tongue-tied and couldn't speak for a long time. Xiao Hongyun, who was at the 5th level of the Spirit Embryo Realm, was completely defenseless in Lu Ming's hands. Lu Ming's strength had suddenly become unfathomable in everyone's hearts. What's the use of a person like you living in this world? I'll send you on your way. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with cold, murderous intent. Xiao Hongyun felt Lu Ming's killing intent and shivered. He sobered up and broke out in a cold sweat. He crawled toward Xiao Zhan with all his might and shouted, Dad, Dad, save me, save me. I won't do it again. I was wrong this time. Save me. Xiao Zhan's gaze was complicated. He sighed and cupped his fists to Lu Ming. Little brother Lu, can you let him off this time? After all, Xiao Hongyun was his son and his last son. Xiao Zhan could not bear to see him being killed by Lu Ming. Lu Ming shook his head in his heart. He had already known this outcome. Xiao Zhan valued friendship too much. Although he was disappointed in Xiao Hongyun, he didn't want to see him die. Since Senior Xiao has spoken, I'll spare him this time, Lu Ming said. In his eyes it didn't matter whether he killed Xiao Hongyun or not, because he didn't care at all. Why should he care about something that he could kill with a single slap? Big brother Lu, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. And jogged over and looked at Lu Ming with admiration. Alei was standing behind An. She blinked her big eyes and peeked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's strength had far exceeded their expectations. It seemed that even their grandfather was not a match for Lu Ming. Lu Ming smiled and turned to Xiao Zhan. Senior Xiao, what do you plan to do next? It was obvious that Ling Yunkong would not let the matter rest. Little brother Lu, let's go in and talk, Xiao Zhan said. Lu Ming nodded and walked into the Xiao family mansion with Xiao Zhan, A Luo and A Lei. Ling Yunkong shouldn't be here so soon. I plan to disband the Xiao family and then take A Lei and A Jin away. However, I feel bad for implicating you this time. Xiao Zhan bowed to Lu Ming. Lu Ming waved his hand and a burst of vital essence spread out, dragging Xiao Zhan along. Senior, you don't have to be so polite. A Lei and I are also considered friends. I can't just watch them being taken away by the people of the Floating Mountain sect. Moreover, I'm alone, so I'm not afraid of the Floating Mountain sect. Feeling Lu Ming's vast vital essence, Xiao Zhan found that he couldn't bow down even a little bit. He was secretly shocked. In his eyes, Lu Ming was even more unfathomable. This old man really can't repay little brother's great kindness. Xiao Zhan cupped his hands and said. Previously, Lu Ming had cured him of his poison. This time he had saved A Luo and her sister. They were really indebted to him. After chatting for a while, Xiao Zhan ordered the entire Xiao family to pack their things and leave in batches at night. The Xiao family of Lishui City could no longer be kept. Half a day passed and night fell. The disciples of the Xiao family disappeared into the night in batches. Lu Ming, Xiao Zhan, and the sisters, A Luo and A Lei, were sitting in the courtyard, drinking tea slowly. Master, let this old servant stay and take care of you. An old man with a head full of white hair stood beside Xiao Zhan and pleaded. The old man was very old, but he was full of energy. However, his eyes were full of sadness and reluctance. Grandpa Quan. A Luo and A Lei were also full of reluctance. The old man's name was Feng Quan. He had been in the Xiao family for more than 100 years and was now the Xiao family's butler. He had watched Aku and A Lei grow up and had deep feelings for the Xiao family. Quan, it's very dangerous to follow us. You still have a family. Let's go. If there's a chance, we'll meet again, Xiao Zhan said. He was helpless, but this was the only thing he could do. If they stayed, they would all die when Ling Yunkong and his men arrived. Their only chance of survival was to leave. Xiao Zhan's attitude was firm, and Feng Quan had no choice but to say goodbye to Xiao Zhan and the others. Grandpa, it's all our fault. A Luo and A Lei were in tears. If it wasn't for them, how could such a thing happen? You two silly girls, don't let your thoughts run wild. Xiao Zhan chuckled and turned to Lu Ming. Brother Lu, it's getting late. You should leave now. We'll disguise our slaviers and leave the city at dawn. Lu Ming had already helped them a lot. He did not want to continue implicating Lu Ming. Before Lu Ming could say anything, footsteps were heard in the courtyard. In the next moment, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning appeared and walked in. What are you guys doing here? Hurry up and get lost. Xiao Zhan coldly rebuked. Plop, plop. To everyone's surprise, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning both knelt down in front of Xiao Zhan. Father, I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I was blinded by greed in the past. That was why I thought of using A Lei and A Luo to curry favor with Ling Yunkong. That's why it ended up like this. I was wrong. Xiao Hongyun repeatedly kowtowed to Xiao Zhan, crying bitterly. Then he kowtowed to Lu Ming. This time, it's all thanks to young Master Lu that I've come to my senses. I finally realized how wrong I was in what I did previously. Thank you, young Master Lu. Xiao Ning also followed Xiao Hongyun and kowtowed. Lu Ming furrowed his eyebrows. Xiao Zhan also frowned. Father, I only hope that you can forgive me. Then I will bring Ning to Ling Yunkong and plead for mercy. This will buy you some time so that you and A Zhen can go further away. Xiao Hongyun said, his eyes full of sincerity. Grandfather, you see, second uncle also knows his mistake, so please forgive him. Eiqing said in a low voice. Yes, Grandpa. Lei also said. The two sisters were very kind. Seeing that Xiao Hongyun seemed to be sincere, their hearts softened and they pleaded for Xiao Hongyun. Pa. Pa. All of a sudden Xiao Hongyun slapped his own face continuously. As he slapped, he shouted, Father, I was wrong. Please forgive me. In a few moments, both sides of Xiao Hongyun's face were swollen. Alright, it's good that you know you're wrong. Everyone makes mistakes. As long as you remember in the future, opportunities should be grasped by your slaviers and not exchanged by sacrificing your loved ones. Seeing this, Xiao Zhan's heart softened and he sighed. Thank you, Father. Xiao Hongyun smiled and said, Dad, I don't know when we'll meet again. I've prepared a banquet in the lobby. I've not gathered with you and my two nieces for a long time. Just take it as a farewell to my nieces. Banquet? No need, it's fine as long as you have the heart. Xiaozhan said. Father, this is a small token of my appreciation. After this farewell, we may never see each other again. Xiao Hongyun sighed, revealing a regretful and sad expression. Grandpa, let's go then. I think second uncle is sincere. Aluo whispered and Ale nodded. Well, all right then. Xiaozhan nodded. Chapter 1000. 1000 Snow Heart Poison. Thank you, Father. Xiao Hongyun was overjoyed. Then he turned to Lu Ming. Young Master Lu, I'm sorry for offending you earlier. I'm here to apologize to you. Why don't you join us? Well, that's good. There's wine to drink, so there's no reason to refuse. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Then the group of 6 came to the main hall. There was indeed a table of fine wine and delicacies. Xiao Hongyun poured a cup of wine for everyone, then raised his cup and said, Father, Zhen, Ale and young Master Lu, I have made a huge mistake. I will drink this as punishment. Then he picked up his wine cup and drank it all. Xiaozhan, Aku and Ale also picked up their glasses and took a sip. Lu Ming raised his glass with a faint smile on his face. Young Master Lu, please. Seeing that Lu Ming did not drink, a trace of panic flashed in the depths of Xiao Hongyun's eyes. Then he put on a sincere smile and said, It's good wine indeed. You'll know once you smell it. Lu Ming laughed, then picked up the glass and drank it in one go. Seeing this, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning's eyes flashed with surprise. Young Master Lu is so generous. Come, let's eat. Xiao Hongyun laughed as everyone sat down. Xiao Ning then poured wine for everyone. Young Master Lu, you are so young and yet you have such a high cultivation. I really admire you. I have never heard of your name before. May I know which force you are from? Xiao Hongyun said. Hearing this, Xiaozhan, Aluo and Ale also showed a curious look. It had been half a year since the Battle of Providence had ended. During the Battle of Providence, all the hidden geniuses, the geniuses secretly nurtured by the unparalleled experts, had appeared one after another. By now, who didn't know the names of these geniuses? However, they were unfamiliar with Lu Shaoqing. Did he not participate in the Battle of Providence? I don't come from any force. I used to cultivate in the deep mountains. This is the first time I'm coming out of the mountains. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Everyone was stunned. Could it be that Lu Ming really did not participate in the Battle of Providence? This was really rare. Generally speaking, almost all geniuses who encountered a Battle of Providence would be tempted. Haha, young Master Lu, you have such a cultivation base even though you have not participated in the Battle of Providence. This is rare. Come, let me toast to you. Xiao Hongyun picked up his wine cup and downed it in one go. Lu Ming smiled and drank the wine in one gulp. Good wine, it's really good wine. You're so thoughtful. Lu Ming clicked his tongue and had a look of enjoyment on his face. Haha, it seems like young Master Lu is a wine lover. You can have a few more if you like. Xiao Hongyun said with a smile. Xiao Ning immediately poured a glass of wine for Lu Ming and said, Brother Lu, I hope you can forgive me for my previous offense. Good. Lu Ming smiled, picked up the glass and drank it in one gulp. Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning's faces were filled with joy. After that, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning repeatedly apologized to Xiaozhan, Ale and Zhen, and toasted to the others. Soon, the Xiao sisters' faces turned red, and they looked exceptionally beautiful. Grandpa, Aluo, why do I feel a little cold? At this time, Ale whispered. I also feel a little cold. Iching shivered and exhaled. A layer of frost actually formed in the air. Xiaozhan's expression changed. Aluo and Ale were both at the perfected spirit sea realm. Why did they suddenly feel cold? Even in a world of ice and snow, they couldn't possibly feel cold. At this time, Xiaozhan also felt a trace of coldness in his meridians. Bang! Xiaozhan suddenly stood up from his chair and stared at Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning like a mad lion. He roared, Evil creatures, you poisoned the wine? Before he could finish his words, Xiaozhan felt the world spin around him. He couldn't stand still and sat back down in his chair. Aku and Ale looked at Xiao Hongyun in disbelief. They had never thought that Xiao Hongyun would actually poison them. Didn't Xiao Hongyun already admit his mistake? Could it be that everything was fake? The two sisters found it unbelievable. It's so cold. Ale shouted. At this moment, her face was no longer red, but a layer of frost had appeared. At the same time, a layer of frost would appear in the air with every breath they exhaled. Ha ha ha. At this moment, Xiao Hongyun laughed hysterically. Old man, you two stinky girls still want to leave? If you leave, what will happen to Ning and me? We can't let our bright future be ruined by you. Xiao Hongyun laughed out loud. At this moment, he had completely revealed his true nature, and his face was filled with ferocity. And you boy, if you dare to interfere, I'll make sure you die without a burial ground. Xiao Hongyun glared at Lu Ming fiercely. Evil creature, evil creature. Xiao Zhan roared, his heart filled with pain and disappointment. Just now, he had really thought that Xiao Hongyun had found his conscience and changed for the better. He did not expect that everything was fake and that it was all an act. He pretended to be pitiful and remorseful in front of them just to trick them into drinking and eating. He had already poisoned the food and wine. At this moment, Xiao Zhan's face was also covered in a layer of white frost. A layer of light emanated from his body as he tried to force out the poison. However, he had not fully recovered and it was useless. Old man, don't force the poison out. It's useless. This is the snow heart poison, which is 10 times more poisonous than the 7-colored poisonous snake. You can't force it out. Jiang Qin said. Xiao Hongyun sneered. Snow heart poison. Xiao Zhan's face was filled with sorrow. The snow heart poison was very famous among all the strange poisons in the world. Without an antidote, even a spiritual God realm master would find it difficult to force out the poison. Old man, I might as well tell you one more thing. When you were bitten by a 7-colored poisonous snake in the chaotic mountains, it was young Master Yun Kong who sent people to lure the snake over. Otherwise he. Xiao Hongyun continued to sneer. What? Evil creature, so my whereabouts were also revealed by you? Xiao Zhan staggered and almost lost his balance. Haha, not bad. Other than me, Ning and A Zhen and A Lei, who else would know about your whereabouts? Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning laughed arrogantly. Evil beast. Xiao Zhan's face was filled with despair. If you don't die, how can I take charge of the Xiao family? Also, if you don't die, how can these two girls marry Ling Yunkong? Don't you know that you're an obstacle to me? Xiao Hongyun's expression was ferocious. That's right, old man. I'm also your grandson, but why are you so biased towards these two stinky girls? They clearly have such great value, so why do you want to keep them and waste them, huh? Desolate Ning was also screaming. Xiao Zhan had completely given up. Xiao Hongyun and his son were no different from animals. It's not just the two of you, right? The others are also about to arrive. Lu Ming suddenly spoke. Hee kid, you're right. A sneer rang out, and with a flash, more than a dozen people appeared in the hall. Ling Kai and a few other young men from the Floating Mountain Martial School were among them. It was Ling Kai who had just spoken. Other than Ling Kai, there were 7 or 8 more middle-aged or old men. All of them had powerful auras and profound cultivation. Not only did they poison him, but they also called for help. It could be said that they were absolutely safe. Chapter 1001. 1001 Chapter 1001 Devouring All. Old man, how dare you disobey young Master Yun Kong? You're courting death. And you still want to sneak away? Young Master Yun Kong has taken a fancy to these two girls. Do you think they can escape? Ling Kai's cold eyes swept over Xiao Zhan, A Luo and A Lei. Xiao Zhan, A Ku and A Lei's faces turned pale. They knew that this time they could not escape. And you, kid, you actually dared to injure us. You simply don't know what's good for you. Aren't you still in our hands? Ling Kai glared at Lu Ming ferociously and licked his lips. But don't worry. I won't kill you so easily. I'll make you suffer all the torture in the world and let you die in pain. AI. Lu Ming suddenly sighed. It's too late to sigh now. Ling Kaisan said coldly. I'm sighing. I was in the mood to drink, but it was interrupted by a few wild dogs. What a killjoy. Lu Ming sighed. Then, under everyone's shocked gaze, he picked up the wine pot on the table and said, however, the wine is indeed good wine. We can't waste it. With that, Lu Ming opened his mouth and took a deep breath. The wine in the flagon turned into a water column and flew into his mouth. Lu Ming gulped down all the water. Everyone was dumbfounded. You, not poisoned? How is that possible? Xiao Hongyun cried out in disbelief, thinking that he was dreaming. He had clearly seen Lu Ming drink many glasses of wine. How could he not be poisoned? Moreover, Lu Ming had finished the rest of the wine. What was going on? Could it be that Lu Ming was not afraid of poison? Ling Kai and the others were also dumbfounded. They were the ones who had brought the snow heart poison. They had given Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning the antidote in advance and then poisoned the wine in dishes. Their main target was Lu Ming. In their eyes, Lu Ming was the most dangerous. Xiao Zhan and the others were not a threat to them. The process was surprisingly smooth. Xiao Hongyun and his son had successfully brought Xiao Zhan and the rest here. Lu Ming and the rest had also successfully drunk and eaten. Moreover, Lu Ming had drunk the most and eaten the most. But how could Lu Ming be fine now? Ling Kai knew better than anyone how powerful the snow heart poison was. Xiao Zhan, a Ku and a Lei were a little dazed. Then their eyes revealed a glimmer of hope. Lu Ming was fine. Just now they were already in despair, but now hope was born again. I might as well tell you that the moment I picked up the wine cup, I knew that the wine was poisoned. Lu Ming looked at Xiao Hongyun contemptuously and smiled faintly. If you know, why are you still drinking? Xiao Hongyun was still in disbelief. Because it's good wine. How can I waste it? Besides, I also want to see what kind of tricks you are playing. Lu Ming smiled and stood up. Light swirled around his body and a cold aura emanated from him. Then he stretched out his palm and pointed it at Xiao Zhan, a Lei and a Luo. A huge devouring force burst out and white light flew out from the three of them. As the white light flew through the air, a layer of crystal white frost appeared in the air. The white light continued to fly into Lu Ming's palm and was devoured by him. Xiao Zhan, a Lei and a Luo's faces also turned red. The poison in their bodies had been detoxified. Xiao Hongyun, Xiao Ning, Ling Kai, and the others all widened their eyes in shock. They had never heard of such a method of detoxification. Now it's your turn. Since you're here, don't even think about leaving. Lu Ming's eyes swept across the room, and a sharp murderous intent burst out. Not good, retreat. Xiao Hongyun's heart skipped a beat. Without hesitation he pulled Xiao Ning and quickly retreated. They were fast, but Lu Ming was faster. Lu Ming's figure moved and he appeared in front of Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning like a stream of light. He pointed two fingers and the two of them were unable to resist as their dantians were touched by Lu Ming's finger. Like balloons that had been burst, Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning screamed as their bodies were sent flying and fell to the ground. Their auras were weak and they were like ordinary people. Their cultivation had been crippled by Lu Ming. My cultivation, my cultivation. Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning both screamed in despair. It's over, it's all over. Initially he wanted to rely on Ling Yunkong to rise up the ranks. Now he didn't manage to curry favor with Ling Yunkong and his cultivation was crippled. He had become a cripple. All hope was gone. Go, go. Ling Kai's pupils contracted sharply as he screamed repeatedly. He himself was about to retreat. Buzz. Lu Ming suddenly appeared in front of Ling Kai, grabbed his neck and lifted him in the air. Release. Let me go, what do you want to do? I'm young Master Yunkong's man. Ling Kai shouted and tried to threaten Lu Ming. Swallow. Devour. Lu Ming spat coldly. The devouring power suddenly erupted. Ling Kai screamed and kept struggling, but to everyone's horror, Ling Kai's body shriveled up like a ball and finally turned into a dry corpse. Bloodthirsty, this is the bloodthirsty technique of Cold Blood Hall. You're from Cold Blood Hall, go, go. The other people from the Floating Mountain sect cried out in alarm and tried to escape. Did I let you go? All of you stay. Lu Ming stretched out his palm and clenched it in the air. Boom. A terrifying devouring power burst out and enveloped all the people of the Floating Mountain sect. These people screamed in horror. Their power of blood, blood essence, blood vital essence and other things flew out of their bodies and were devoured by Lu Ming. This feeling was too terrifying. He had seen himself being devoured and the people around him turning into dried corpses. No, no. They screamed in agony. However, after a short while, everyone from the Floating Mountain sect turned into mummies and Lu Ming devoured everything. Almost all of these people cultivated the water concept. At this moment, Lu Ming's water concept began to improve as it was continuously refined by the Nine-Dragon bloodline. Only Xiao Hongyun, Xiao Ning, Xiao Zhan, a Ku and a Lei were left. The people of the Floating Mountain sect had all died. A foul stench filled the hall. Lu Ming turned his head and saw Xiao Ning. He looked at Lu Ming in horror. He was so scared that he had peed himself. Xiao Hongyun's face was also pale and full of despair. Xiao Zhan and the other two also looked at Lu Ming in shock. Brother Lu, are you a Cold Blood Hall disciple? Xiao Zhan asked. Cold Blood Hall? I've never heard of it, I'm not a Cold Blood Hall disciple. Lu Ming shook his head. Not a Cold Blood Hall disciple. Xiao Zhan seemed to let out a long breath. He seemed to be very afraid of Cold Blood Hall. Senior Xiao, I'll leave these two to you. Lu Ming pointed at Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning. Xiao Zhan's eyes were filled with killing intent. Father, please spare my life. Please let me off this time. I was blinded by greed for a moment. I won't dare to do it again. Xiao Hongyun started pleading. You said the same thing before. You two evil creatures. If I let you live, you'll only harm others. I'd rather kill you myself. Xiao Zhan strode forward with killing intent. Chapter 1002. 1002 The top 10 heavens favorites of the floating mountain. Father, please let us off this time. I'm your biological son. Xiao Hongyun pleaded. Grandpa, I beg you, please let me go. It's not my fault. My father told me to do this. Yes, it's all him. I was forced by him. Xiao Ning screamed and begged, pushing all the blame onto Xiao Hongyun. Bastard, how dare you slander me? If it wasn't for the fact that you could get into Ling Yunkong's good books, would I have done that? Xiao Hongyun looked at Xiao Ning in disbelief and anger. You were the one who gave me this idea from the start. You were the one who told me to make use of Ale and Azhen. That's why I invited Ling Yunkong to our house. It was all your idea. Grandpa, if you want to kill him, then kill him. I'm innocent. I'm the last man in the Xiao family. I still want to pass on the Xiao family's heir. Desolate Ning shouted. Animal, I'll kill you. Xiao Hongyun roared and pounced toward Xiao Ning. Don't think I'm afraid of you. Xiao Ning also rushed toward Xiao Hongyun. The two of them were entangled in a physical fight since their cultivation had been crippled. My family is unfortunate, my family is unfortunate. Xiao Zhan's face was dejected, as if he had suddenly aged a few decades. After a long time, Xiao Zhan's eyes revealed a decisive look. A sword appeared in his hand and he said, What's the use of two scums in this world? Whoosh! The sword light flashed and two heads flew high up into the air with disbelief. After killing Xiao Hongyun and Xiao Ning, Xiao Zhan's body staggered as if he had lost all his strength. Grandpa! Aku and Ale quickly supported Xiao Zhan. Senior Xiao, you can't fall. The Xiao family, Azhen and Ale still need you to take care of them. Lu Ming said. Xiao Zhan took a deep breath to calm himself down and said, That's right. Ale and Azhen are the hope of the Xiao family. Nothing must happen to them. Let's leave Lishui City and get away from the floating mountain. I'll send you guys off first. Lu Ming said. Then the four of them took advantage of the darkness and left the Xiao family. However, just as they left the Xiao family, a bright sword light slashed towards them. Lu Ming's expression changed. He used his vital essence to roll Xiao Zhan and the other two to the side. Boom, boom, boom. The sword light slashed toward the Xiao family, leaving a deep sword mark. Half of the Xiao family was cut in half. A group of figures appeared in the sky. Their gazes were cold and their bodies emitted a powerful aura. The people from the floating mountain. Xiao Zhan's expression changed. It seems like Ling Kai and the others are dead. Luckily, I was worried and rushed over personally. Otherwise, you guys would have really escaped. A cold voice came from the distance. A young man in a white robe was waving a folding fan as he walked in the air. Ling Yunkong. Xiao Zhan, Aku and Ale cried out in alarm, their faces turning even uglier and even more desperate. Ling Yunkong, one of the top 10 heavens favorites of the floating mountain martial school, had actually come personally. Bus, whoosh. Around the Xiao family, many figures appeared in a flash and flew into the sky, looking over. The movement of the sword earlier was too loud. Everyone within 100 miles could hear it. They all rushed over to see what had happened. The people from the floating mountain. Ling Yunkong. That's Ling Yunkong. Ling Yunkong has come personally. The Xiao family is completely finished. Someone recognized Ling Yunkong and exclaimed in shock. Brother Lu, hurry up and leave. Xiao Zhan called out to Lu Ming anxiously. Lu Ming's combat strength was not bad, but he was definitely not Ling Yunkong's match. Ling Yunkong was one of the top 10 Heaven's Pride experts of the Floating Mountain Martial School. His combat strength was extremely terrifying. Many of the older generation were not his match. The top 10 Heaven's Pride experts of the Floating Mountain sect. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. There was a hint of fighting spirit and anticipation in his eyes. The Floating Mountain sect was the overlord of the Central Continent. It had an emperor in charge and was on the same level as the Emperor Sky Divine Palace and the Sky Corps sect. Lu Ming was very curious about the level of the geniuses in such a force. Leave? Today none of you will be able to escape. Ling Yunkong's voice was cold. His eyes swept across the room and finally landed on Aku and Alei. His eyes were burning with passion. He had played with countless beautiful women in his life, but he had never played with such a pair of pure and lovely twins. Just thinking about them made him feel excited. Old man, you should kill yourself. And that brat kill himself too. That way I can still leave you with an intact corpse. Ling Yunkong said indifferently. Hee, this is the virtue of one of the 10 Heaven's Pride experts of the Floating Mountain Martial School. I've finally seen it today, but it's really disappointing. Lu Ming shook his head and sighed. In the air, the expressions of more than 10 experts of the Floating Mountain sect changed. Ling Yunkong's face darkened as well. He glared at Lu Ming coldly and said, "Good kid, you're good. With your words, I won't let you die. I'll let you live, but I'll make you regret living." Ling Kai said the same thing before, but he's a dead dog now. I hope you have the right to say that. Lu Ming replied indifferently. Attack and cripple him. Ling Yunkong's eyes were filled with killing intent as he waved his hand. Bang. An elder strode forward with a steel fork in his hand. His aura rose and a powerful pressure pressed down on Lu Ming. It was extremely shocking. 6th level Spirit Embryo Realm. This elder's cultivation had reached the 6th level of the Spirit Embryo Realm. Boom. The old man waved his steel fork and smashed it at Lu Ming. Be careful. Brother Lu, be careful. Xiao Zhan and the Xiao sisters cried out in unison, worried. Lu Ming's palm glowed and a long essential core spear was condensed. The long spear swept out and hit the steel fork. With a clang, the steel fork trembled violently and was sent flying. Lu Ming rose into the air, his long spear turning into a ray of light with a faint dragon's roar. It was a high-grade demigod martial technique, the dazzling dragon spear art. Puchi. The spear broke through the old man's defense and killed him. What? The people who were watching the battle from afar were shocked. Lu Ming was very powerful. He had killed a 6th level Spirit Embryo Realm cultivator with one shot. Such a young heaven's favorite would not be unknown in the entire Central Continent. Ling Yunkong's eyes flickered slightly as well. It was apparent that Lu Ming's cultivation had exceeded his expectations. Looks like I'll have to do it myself today, Ling Yunkong said. He was only slightly surprised, but he did not take Lu Ming seriously. That was because he could kill an ordinary 6th level Spirit Embryo Realm cultivator with a snap of his fingers. Bang. Ling Yunkong took a step forward. The sky trembled violently and the world began to shake. Ling Yunkong is about to make his move. Some people exclaimed, but more people's eyes were shining. The Battle of Providence had just passed half a year ago. During this time, the entire Central Continent was very peaceful, as if all the geniuses had gone into seclusion. It was a complete opposite from before the Battle of Providence had begun. Before the Battle of Providence began, the prodigies would battle each other. Battles were endless, and there were battles between peerless prodigies every day. However, after the War of Providence, it became completely silent. All of the geniuses seemed to be digesting what they had obtained from the Battle of Providence and were in seclusion to improve their cultivation. In the past 6 months, it was rare to see some of the top geniuses fight. Was Ling Yunkong going to make a move now? After the Battle of Providence, countless people were curious about what realm Ling Yunkong had reached. Chapter 1003. 1003 Chapter 1003 Suppressing Ling Yunkong. This was because most people would not be able to see the final battle of the Battle of Providence. Only the upper echelons of the Overlord forces could see it. The combat strength of these heaven's favorites were all spread out. Few people had seen it with their own eyes. Now they finally had a chance. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Ming took one step at a time in the air. With each step, Ling Yunkong's aura grew stronger. In the end, the aura on his body was as powerful as the archaic divine mountains. The immense pressure pressed toward Lu Ming. Xiao Zhan and the Xiao sisters couldn't help but retreat, their eyes filled with horror. In front of Ling Yunkong, they felt as though they were nothing more than ants. It was impossible for them to resist him. Big brother Lu. The Xiao sisters looked at Lu Ming extremely worried. Ling Yunkong was so powerful. Could Lu Ming be his match? However, Lu Ming's figure was as steady as a rock. He did not move at all, not even the corner of his clothes moved. Ling Yunkong's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. A person who could stand still in the face of his aura was not simple. You're not bad. You're worth my time. What's your name? Ling Yunkong's words surprised many people. Ling Yunkong actually said that Lu Ming was worth his time. Was the young man who was standing there without moving so strong? Worthy of Ling Yunkong's attention. You are not qualified to know my name, Lu Ming said indifferently. Lu Ming's voice was not loud, but it was like a storm that spread throughout the entire scene, causing everyone's eyes to widen. Lu Ming actually said that Ling Yunkong was not qualified to know his name. Crazy, too crazy, crazy to the point of no end. What kind of person was Ling Yunkong? He was one of the top 10 Heaven's Pride experts of the Overlord Force, the Floating Mountain Sect. Although he was only ranked 10th, the number of disciples of the Floating Mountain Sect was more than 10 million. There were countless geniuses and experts. To be able to stand out among the countless geniuses and be ranked 10th, it was enough to show how terrifying Ling Yun was. However, Lu Ming was saying that Ling Yunkong was not even qualified to know his name. He's too arrogant. I'm afraid that this young man came from the deep mountains and has not seen the world. He actually doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. In my opinion, he's just a frog at the bottom of the well. He thinks he has some ability and doesn't put the world's heroes in his eyes. Just watch, he'll be miserable later. I think I've heard his name before. It's from the Xiao family. I think he's called Lu Xiaoqing. Lu Xiaoqing? I've never heard of him before. The Battle of Providence has just ended, and all the powerful elites are famous. I've never heard of this name before. Did he not participate in the Battle of Providence? You see, I was right. This person must be a country bumpkin who just came out of some deep mountain. There was a lot of discussion near the Xiao family. Xiao Zhan, Aku and Alei were also trembling with fear. Lu Ming's words had infuriated Ling Yunkong even more. Ha ha ha. As expected, Ling Yun laughed in his anxiety. His eyes were cold as he said, "Arrogant, you are really arrogant. I, Ling Yunkong, have been called arrogant by others, but you are even more arrogant than me. However, you need to have the right to be arrogant. Later on, I will make sure that you can't be arrogant at all." You're right. You have to have the capital to be arrogant, or you're just looking for death. Lu Ming smiled faintly. It was obvious that Lu Ming was referring to Ling Yunkong. Then I'll let you see what I have. Boom. As soon as he finished speaking, Ling Yun took a step forward and waved his palm. A blue, crystal-clear blade light slashed towards Lu Ming. The terrifying aura seemed to be able to split the entire heaven and earth. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He shook his long spear and a dragon's roar was heard. A spear's gleam burst out and collided with the saber's gleam. Boom. A powerful chi burst out and the space shook. The spear and blade light both disappeared. Ling Yunkong did not move. Lu Ming did not move either. He blocked it. That Lu Xiaoqing actually blocked Ling Yunkong's blade. Unbelievable. How could this be? This person actually has such powerful combat strength? Some people called out in disbelief. Peak of the 7th level spirit embryo realm. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. He already knew that Ling Yunkong's cultivation had reached the peak of the 7th level spirit embryo realm. Half a year ago, during the War of Providence in the Eastern Barren Territory, there would have been cultivators at the level of demonic Lord Luo Tian. However, Lu Ming felt that Ling Yunkong's combat strength should not be as strong as Luo Tian's. His talent should be slightly weaker than Luo Tian's. It had been half a year since the Battle of Providence, and Ling Yunkong had only reached the peak of the 7th level of the spirit embryo realm. Just from this point he was inferior to Luo Tian. After all, Luo Tian was ranked 10th among all the human talents in the Eastern Barren Territory. Not bad. If you can take one of my attacks, then try taking another. 100 Waves Saber Art. The aura on Ling Yunkong's body became even more vigorous. The blade light broke through the air, and the sound of stormy waves actually rang out in the air. Ling Yunkong's blade gleams were like ocean waves, wave after wave, slashing towards Lu Ming. Buzz. Lu Ming's spear trembled. The long spear that was condensed from vital essence expanded rapidly, like a pillar that held up the sky. 5 colored rays of light curled around it. Yes, 5 colors, 5 intents. Earlier on, Lu Ming had devoured Ling Kai and the other's water concept and had been refining it. At this moment, Lu Ming's water concept had a breakthrough and reached the lower tier of level 3. Although it wasn't on the same level as the earth mentality, wind, fire, and thunder mentality, the power of the 5 mentalities together was still very shocking. Boom. The massive spear pressed down with an overbearing momentum, obliterating everything in its path. Boom. 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 The heavens and the earth trembled continuously as Ling Yunkong's blade light was crushed and shattered. In the end, the long spear did not stop and continued to smash towards Ling Yunkong. Why would I? Ling Yunkong's pupils contracted rapidly. His eyes were filled with disbelief. How could Lu Ming be so powerful? He broke his 100 waves saber art in one move and still had the remaining energy to smash at him. All the spectators in the surroundings also widened their eyes in disbelief. Lu Ming's spear was too amazing. It was unimaginably powerful. It actually started to suppress Ling Yunkong, one of the 10 proud children of heaven of the floating mountain sect. Ling Yunkong let out a long howl. His long hair fluttered in the wind as he continuously slashed out with the saber in his hand. Within a short period of time, he had slashed at least a few thousand times before he managed to block Lu Ming's long spear. However, he was forced to retreat 1,000 meters, his chest heaving up and down. Just this bit of strength? And here I was thinking how strong he would be. It's a miracle that you're still alive. Lu Ming said indifferently. Ling Yunkong's face turned red with anger. He was very arrogant just now and even said that one had to have the right to be arrogant. The facts had proven that he did not have the right to be arrogant in front of Lu Ming. His words were like slapping his own face. This made him furious and furious. He wished he could kill Lu Ming. Die. Ling Yunkong roared. At the same time, a giant elephant appeared above his head. There were 5 golden chakras around the giant elephant. As expected, a 5th-level divine bloodline was weaker than Luo Tian's. However, it made sense after some thought. The floating mountain sect was only on the same level as the Empyrean God Palace or the Heavenly Corpse sect. Ling Yunkong was only ranked 10th in the floating mountain sect. If even the 10th place was as powerful as Luo Tian, wouldn't the floating mountain sect be as powerful as the entire human race of the East Baron? This was clearly impossible. Chapter 1004. 1004 Chapter 1004 First Display of Strength. It's out. Ling Yunkong's bloodline. Is this a 5th-ranked divine bloodline? The legendary divine beast, the divine water elephant. It is as famous as the ancient war elephant and can control all the water in the world. Exclamations of shock came from all around. Ling Yunkong performed the bloodline fusion and transformed into the divine water elephant. The divine water elephant was 1,000 meters tall, towering into the clouds and covering the sky. It let out a long roar and the entire Lishui city trembled. Countless people looked at the huge creature in the sky in shock. Boom. The divine water elephant stepped forward and stomped toward Lu Ming. In Alei and Xiao Zhan were extremely frightened. This kind of power was too amazing, as if it could destroy the world. However, Lu Ming's eyes were still as calm as water. The spear in his hand grew larger again, becoming thousands of meters long. It was indomitable, stirring the wind and clouds. Boom. The huge spear radiance shot toward the divine water elephant. The clouds in the sky were directly split apart, allowing the starlight to fall. The divine water elephant let out a long cry and curled its trunk, which was hundreds of meters long, toward the spear radiance. A deafening boom resounded and the space trembled. However, the final result was shocking. The 5-colored spear radiance destroyed the elephant's trunk like rotten wood and struck the divine water elephant's trunk. The divine water elephant let out a wail and its huge body retreated. It stepped in the air, causing ripples to appear in the air. Ling Yunkong is going to be defeated. Someone exclaimed. Everyone was extremely shocked. Ling Yunkong had even used the fusion of bloodlines, but he was still no match for them. He was about to lose. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming's body was as small as an ant, but he waved his 1,000-meter-long spear and continuously bombarded the divine water elephant. After a few consecutive explosions, the divine water elephant let out a blood-curdling screech and exploded with a bang, turning into Ling Yunkong's appearance. Ling Yunkong's face was as pale as a sheet of paper. Blood was spurting out of his mouth like a fountain. He didn't dare to stay any longer. He immediately turned into a blade light and flew into the distance at an extreme speed, disappearing in the blink of an eye. "Kid, just you wait." Ling Yunkong's voice could be heard from afar. Lu Ming's eyes flickered, but he did not pursue. He did have some apprehensions, not because of himself but because of the Xiao family. After all, Ling Yunkong was one of the 10 Heavens Pride experts of the Floating Mountain sect. If he were to be killed, the Floating Mountain sect might be enraged and send out a few spiritual God realm experts. He could just pat his butt and leave, and the Xiao family would be in trouble. Therefore Lu Ming did not give chase. At this moment, the people who were watching the battle looked at Lu Ming with awe, shock, and curiosity. Lu Ming had actually defeated Ling Yunkong. This meant that he was a more powerful genius than Ling Yunkong. But why had he never heard of Lu Shaoqing's name? Did this kid really not participate in the Battle of Providence? Lu, big brother. Qing and the others were also dumbfounded. They had never expected Lu Ming to be so powerful that even Ling Yunkong was not his match. What kind of ability was that? Was this still the young man who had been injured by the demonic beast? They thought of how Lu Ming looked when they first met him in the chaotic mountains. At that moment, their beautiful big eyes suddenly lit up. Back then they had met Lu Ming because a level 8 vicious beast had gone into a rage. At that time, they had thought that Lu Ming had been implicated and injured by some other smaller vicious beasts because of the level 8 demonic beast's rage. Now that they thought about it, perhaps the level 8 demonic beast's rage was because of Lu Ming. The reason why Lu Ming was injured was probably because he was attacked by that level 8 demonic beast and not some small demonic beast. Xiao Zhan was even more surprised. He had been cultivating for many years and he knew very well how strong Ling Yunkong was. At his peak, he was at the peak of the 5th level of Spirit Embryo Realm. However, in front of Ling Yunkong he was definitely killed in a second. But Ling Yunkong was easily defeated by Lu Ming. "Let's go, we'll leave first." Lu Ming waved his hand and the long spear disappeared. He smiled at Aluo and the rest. "Ah yes, okay." As if they had just woken up from a dream, the 4 of them headed out of the city. Naturally, Lu Ming did not care about defeating Ling Yunkong. To him, Ling Yunkong was not his match at all. Ling Yunkong's cultivation was weaker than his. He had not even used the power of his bloodline. He had defeated Ling Yunkong with just his cultivation and intent realm. The power of the fusion of 5 kinds of mentality is indeed much stronger than that of 4 kinds of mentality. It's a pity that the water mentality is still a little weak. If it was on the same level as the other mentalities, the power that it could unleash would be even more terrifying. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. The 4 of them headed north of Lishui City. After leaving the city, the 4 of them changed their appearances and changed their clothes. The sisters' looks had become much more ordinary and less eye-catching. Lu Ming had also turned into a young man in his 30s. He kept going north and crossed the myriad lake plain. After flying for about 1,000,000 miles, he stopped at a small island in the middle of a lake. This small island in the middle of the lake was very peaceful and suitable for living in seclusion. Xiao Zhan, Haku and Lei planned to live here temporarily. There was plenty of water vapor here. Lu Ming also planned to cultivate here for a period of time. The 4 of them then settled down. Every day, Lu Ming would sit cross-legged on the surface of the lake to comprehend the concept of water. To him, he couldn't afford to waste any time. The talisman amulet sect's yin and yang formation could only last for 5 years. However, almost half a year had passed. Lu Ming felt that time was too tight. He had to seize every bit of time to cultivate and improve himself as soon as possible. As for Xiao Zhan, he would disguise himself and go out every day to gather information. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. Lu Ming cultivated quietly every day and made great progress in the water concept. One day Xiao Zhan returned with a worried look on his face. Seeing this, Aku and Lei quickly asked Xiao Zhan what had happened. At first, Xiao Zhan didn't say anything, but he had no choice but to tell the truth. It turned out that he had heard an important piece of news when he went out just now. Ling Yunkong had returned. He seemed to have invited the experts of the Floating Mountain Martial School to come here. He had captured many disciples of the Xiao family who had left. At this moment, Ling Yunkong was holding the disciples of the Xiao family in custody. He had released the news that Lu Shaoqing, Xiao Zhan, and the others should return. Otherwise he would kill all the disciples of the Xiao family. Despicable. This Ling Yunkong is actually so despicable. Qing gritted her teeth. No matter what, Ling Yunkong was still one of the top 10 Heavens Pride experts of the Floating Mountain Martial School. They did not expect him to be so despicable and shameless. After being defeated by Lu Ming, he actually used the Xiao family's disciples to threaten them. Xiao Zhan's face was full of worry, but Lu Ming's expression was very calm. "You guys stay here, I'll go take a look," Lu Ming said. "No, little brother Lu, you've helped us too much. I can't repay your kindness in this life. I can't let you take any more risks." Xiao Zhan firmly shook his head. "That's right, big brother Lu. That Ling Yunkong must have found someone stronger than him. If you go, won't you be in danger?" Qing also said. "It's fine. I'm just going to take a look. I won't show my face if I'm not confident," Lu Ming said with a smile. "This?" They hesitated after hearing Lu Ming's words. "Don't worry, you guys wait here for my news." Lu Ming smiled and rose into the air. Chapter 1005. 1005. Another heaven's favorite. In front of the Xiao family's mansion in Lishui City, at least 50 Xiao family disciples were tied up and kneeling on the ground. Ling Yunkong sat on a chair with an extremely cold expression. Beside him there were some experts of the Floating Mountain sect. Many people were watching around the Xiao family. Ling Yunkong's methods are too despicable. He actually used such methods to force Xiao Zhan and Lu Xiaoqing to come out. He is indeed despicable. However, not all of the Heaven's Pride experts of the Floating Mountain Martial School are like this. Some Heaven's Pride experts are very forthright. I heard that Chu Kuang, who is ranked second among the top 10 Heaven's Pride experts of the Floating Mountain Martial School, is very forthright. He even married and made friends. I wonder if that's true? This is true. Come to think of it, Ling Yunkong was defeated by Lu Xiaoqing the last time, and he still dares to return. Isn't he afraid of being defeated by Lu Xiaoqing again? That's because he brought an expert with him. Do you see that young man who is sitting cross-legged on Ling Yunkong's right? That's Hai Ziming. What? That's Hai Ziming, the 5th of the 10 Heavens favorites of the Floating Mountain sect? Countless people were talking about it from all directions. However, they kept their voices very low for fear that Ling Yunkong would hear them. At the end of their conversation, most of their gazes fell on the young man on Ling Yunkong's right. The young man was wearing a blue robe and had an ordinary appearance. He was the kind of person who wouldn't be able to be found in a crowd. However, when everyone heard his name, no one dared to look down on him. Because he was Hai Ziming. It was said that Hai Ziming was the Heaven's favorite of the Floating Mountain sect who rose up the fastest. He was also the youngest and was not even 25 years old yet. In the Battle of Providence, he rose like a comet, shocking everyone. After the Battle of Providence, he was ranked 5th among the 10 Heavens favorites of the Floating Mountain sect, much stronger than Ling Yunkong. He did not expect that Ling Yunkong would actually invite Hai Ziming over. It was obvious that he was here to deal with Lu Xiaoqing. Continue to spread the news. If Lu Xiaoqing and Xiao Zhan still don't show up, I will kill a Xiao family disciple every 2 hours. At this moment, Ling Yunkong revealed a look of impatience as he coldly ordered an old man beside him. Yes. The old man hurriedly nodded. Enough. At this moment, Hai Ziming opened his eyes. His eyes flashed and he spat out 2 words. The old man's expression immediately changed and he stood still. Ling Yunkong frowned. Ling Yunkong, I'm here with you to meet Lu Xiaoqing. You're too despicable. Hai Ziming said indifferently. Ling Yunkong frowned and a look of displeasure flashed across his eyes. He forced a smile and said, Junior brother Hai, Lu Xiaoqing and the old man of the Xiao family are both in hiding. If we don't use this method, how can they appear? Forget about killing them. Also, when they arrive, let these people go. They are all people with low cultivation. If we kill them, it will be bad for the reputation of our floating mountain. Hai Ziming said. All right, junior brother Hai, I know what to do. Ling Yunkong's voice turned cold. Hai Ziming frowned. If it were not for the fact that Ling Yunkong had helped him before he rose to power, he would never have followed Ling Yunkong here to do such a thing. Ling Yunkong, I've already helped you twice. This is the last time. After this, you and I don't owe each other anything. Hai Ziming said indifferently. Ling Yunkong snorted but did not say anything. After Hai Ziming finished speaking, he closed his eyes again. Lu Xiaoqing is here. At this moment, someone exclaimed. What? Where is he? Over there. The gazes of the crowd turned to the sky in unison. Ling Yunkong's eyes lit up. Hai Ziming, who had his eyes closed, opened his eyes as well. Two bright spear lights shot out from his eyes. A black-robed young man with his hands behind his back was flying in the northern sky. It was Lu Ming. When Lu Ming arrived at Lishui City, he found out that Ling Yun Kong did not bring any spiritual god realm powerhouse with him. He only invited a young heaven's favorite. Lu Ming did not hide and showed himself. Thinking about it, how could a spiritual god realm venerable be invited by Ling Yun Kong to do such a thing? He would probably be ridiculed by the world. Lu Shaoqing. Ling Yun Kong glared at Lu Ming, gritting his teeth as he spoke word by word. What's wrong? You didn't learn your lesson last time, and now you're looking for a beating again? Lu Ming cast a glance at Ling Yun Kong and said disdainfully. This made Ling Yun Kong gnash his teeth in anger. Lu Shaoqing, where's the old man and the two girls from the Xiao family? Ling Yun Kong asked coldly. You want to know? Why should I tell you? Lu Ming smiled faintly and said, the Heaven's Pride experts of the Floating Mountain Martial School only know how to play such tricks. They used innocent people to lure me out. Now that I'm out, you can use whatever tricks you have. Humph, if I didn't do this, how would you have come out? Lu Shaoqing, aren't you very strong? Today I'll let junior brother Hai Ziming have a taste of your strength. Ling Yun Kong said. Oh, so it was a different person? However, I'm not interested in fighting with someone else. I'm more interested if you fight me yourself. Lu Ming smiled. Ling Yun Kong's expression turned even uglier. How would he dare to do it himself? Lu Shaoqing, it's not up to you today. Ling Yun Kong sneered. Lu Shaoqing, fight with me. Hai Ziming stood up, his eyes filled with a strong desire to fight. If you want to fight with me, sure. How about we make a bet? Lu Ming said. How do we bet? Hai Ziming asked. It's simple. If I lose, I'll destroy my cultivation and hand it over to you. I'll also hand over Senior Xiao Zhan, Luo and Ale. But if you lose, you have to swear that you'll never touch the Xiao family again no matter what means. Lu Ming said. Why should I agree? You have no choice now. The lives of these Xiao family disciples are in my hands. You'd better listen to my orders. Ling Yun Kong sneered and rejected him directly. Is that so? Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. Suddenly, Lu Ming took a step forward and used the 9 dragons heaven-treading steps to pounce on him. In the process of pouncing, Lu Ming burst out with 2 streams of dragon energy. Purple scales immediately appeared on Lu Ming's body. Vanish. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and his muscles squirmed. The purple scale armor could not be seen but only covered his skin. It made his body look like it was only suffused with a layer of purple radiance. Lu Ming's physical body had now reached complete rank 8 and was extremely powerful. Lu Ming realized that when he released his dragon energy, he could control his body. He could make the scales hide under his skin instead of appearing on the surface. In this way, the strange phenomenon would not be too obvious and would not be noticed by people with ill intentions. Of course, this was related to the strength of his body and the explosive dragon power. Given the strength of Lu Ming's current physical body, he could only hide the phenomenon caused by 4 bursts of dragon energy at most. If he had more than 4 bursts of dragon energy, he would not be able to control his physical body and scales would appear. Chapter 1006. 1006 Forced to Swear. Lu Ming's body was like a ray of light when he used the 9 dragons heaven-treading steps and released 2 bursts of dragon energy. It was too fast. In an instant, it had arrived in front of Ling Yun Kong. Even though Ling Yun Kong was prepared for this, he was still shocked. In a hurry he made his move. However, his attack and defense were as fragile as tofu in front of Lu Ming's palm. Lu Ming's palm pierced through all defenses and grabbed Ling Yun Kong's throat. With a burst of energy, Ling Yun Kong's neck seemed to be about to break. He let out a blood-curdling screech and his essential core almost dissipated. The surrounding people were all stunned. It was unbelievable that Lu Ming could restrain Ling Yun Kong with one move. After a long time, everyone finally reacted. How dare you? Let go of young Master Yun Kong. You're looking for death, you know? A few old men shouted. They were all Ling Yun Kong's trusted aides. Shut up. I'll break his neck right now. There was a murderous glint in Lu Ming's eyes. Killing intent burst forth. The few elders immediately shut up. Lu Shaoqing, I'm the Heaven's Pride expert of the Floating Mountain Martial School. If you kill me, the experts of the Floating Mountain Martial School will not let you off. Ling Yunkong roared. You have lost so miserably in a fight between peers. Do you really think that those higher-ups of the Floating Mountain Martial School will stand up for you? Are you not afraid of being ridiculed by the world? Lu Ming sneered, his eyes cold. Ling Yunkong shivered as a trace of fear appeared in his eyes. That was indeed the case. In a fight between peers, if one was killed because he was no match for the other, the elders of the sect would take revenge. Did the other party not have any elders? By then the other party's elders would also kill the Heaven's Pride experts of their own younger generation. Then how would the young Heaven's Pride experts in the world have the chance to rise again? Wouldn't they all be dead? Whether it was the East Continent, the Central Continent, or other places, this was an unwritten rule. When the younger generation fought, under normal circumstances, the older generation would not interfere. Of course, special circumstances were an exception. If I wanted to kill you, it would be a piece of cake. Do you understand the difference between you and me now? Lu Ming sneered and continued, however, even if I don't kill you today, I can agree to fight him. However, my condition is still the same as before. Swear it, a blood oath. If you lose, you can't touch the Shao family in any way. On the other hand, I will fulfill my condition. Lu Ming pointed at Hai Ziming. Today, Lu Ming had to completely solivere the Shao family's future trouble. Otherwise there would be no end to this. On one hand, he wanted to force Ling Yunkong to make a blood oath. On the other hand, he wanted to display his powerful abilities to intimidate them. I promise you, if I lose, I won't touch the Shao family at all, and I won't let anyone touch them. Hai Ziming was the first to speak. In the end, Ling Yunkong had no choice. His life was in Lu Ming's hands. He could only agree and take a blood oath. Once a martial artist made a blood oath, he could not go against it. Otherwise, in the future he would be plagued by inner demons. Not only would it be difficult to advance his cultivation, but he might even suffer from qi deviation. After Ling Yunkong had made the blood oath, Lu Ming flung him away. Damn it, I hope Hai Ziming can kill this Lu Shaoqing. Ling Yunkong's eyes flickered with cold killing intent. Lu Ming actually dared to treat him in this way. This made his killing intent extremely strong. Moreover, he had lost all his face today. His only hope now was that Hai Ziming could defeat Lu Ming. He was still quite confident in Hai Ziming. He felt that the reason why he was caught by Lu Ming was because Lu Ming had caught him off guard. If he had been on guard, Lu Ming would not have been able to take him down so easily. He was not the only one who thought so. In fact, many people thought so too. It was because Lu Ming had indeed succeeded in his sneak attack. Moreover, Ling Yunkong was very clear about Hai Ziming's combat strength. Among all the Heaven's favorites of the Floating Mountain sect, Hai Ziming was the one who caught up from behind. He rose quickly and his improvement speed was shocking. In the Battle of Providence, Hai Ziming was ranked 5th among the top 10 geniuses of the Floating Mountain sect. However, half a year had passed, and Ling Yunkong was clear that even the 4th-ranked genius of the Floating Mountain sect might not be a match for Hai Ziming. Therefore he had confidence in Hai Ziming. Bang! Hai Ziming stepped forward and stood opposite Lu Ming. A powerful aura erupted from him without any restraint. His eyes were filled with a strong desire to fight and excitement. The peak of the 8th-level spirit embryo realm. Hai Ziming did not hide it at all. Lu Ming could tell at a glance that Hai Ziming's cultivation had already reached the peak of the 8th-level spirit embryo realm. Lu Shaoqing, allow me to experience it. Hai Ziming's palm glowed, and an ocean blue spear appeared in his hand. Hai Ziming also used a gun. His long spear seemed to be made of blue gemstones, and water vapor emanated from it from time to time. Under the sunlight, it emitted a colorful radiance. Lu Ming's fingers moved slightly and the infinite dragon spear appeared. Good spear. Hai Ziming's eyes lit up. Yours is not bad either. Lu Ming said. Then let's fight. As soon as he finished speaking, Hai Ziming took another step forward and waved his long spear. In the air, shadows of spears appeared all over the sky, heading straight for Lu Ming. Radiance filled the air and there were countless spear shadows. It seemed to have covered all of Lu Ming's paths. Buzz. Lu Ming's long spear trembled and similarly, he thrust out a sky full of spear shadows, which constantly collided with Hai Ziming's spear shadows. Clang, clang, clang. The dense sounds of collision were like raindrops falling to the ground, endless. The spear shadows that filled the sky completely drowned Lu Ming and Hai Ziming. Outsiders could only see the spear shadows but not the person. It rang for at least a few thousand times before the sound stopped. The spear shadows that filled the sky disappeared and two figures appeared. Vast wave spear art. The long spear in Hai Ziming's hand spun and waved. It was as if there were several large rivers spinning around the long spear. It carried a terrifying power and charged towards Lu Ming. Spear concept. There's another concept that's also extremely terrifying. Lu Ming's heart stirred. Hai Zi's talent was shocking. She had actually comprehended two powerful intents and had already fused them into one. Her combat strength was extremely strong. The infinite dragon spear glowed with a five-colored radiance. At the same time, it activated the Strangle Hell Heaven art. Every spear strike contained a terrifying power that could suppress everything. Boom. The two long spears collided with each other. In the end, the river collapsed and Hai Ziming's long spear was sent flying. Hai Ziming's body retreated quickly, and he only stopped after retreating 100 meters. His expression was serious. On the other hand, Ling Yunkong's expression was extremely ugly. Lu Ming was actually so powerful. The combat strength that he was displaying now had already surpassed his combat strength when he had fought with him previously. It was obvious that Lu Ming had been hiding his strength. Amazing. Take my strongest move. Hai Zi's eyes lit up as a long spear appeared above her head. The spear was also surrounded by a large river and 6 golden chakras floated above it. A divine level rank 6 bloodline. Hai Ziming used his bloodline fusion and transformed into a spear. The boundless sea. Hai Ziming's voice came from the long spear. The long spear vibrated and spun in the air as it stabbed out. Whoosh. Lu Ming seemed to have seen an ocean. The waves were shocking and with a power that could destroy everything, it surged toward Lu Ming. Ocean concept. Lu Ming finally knew what Hai Ziming's other concept was. It was the ocean concept, a terrifying concept. Chapter 1007. 1007 The Black Water Lotus Throne. The spear intent and the ocean intent merged together. The spear force was like the ocean, with raging waves hitting the shore and the ocean being boundless, destroying everything. Strong, he's too strong. Retreat, retreat. The hearts of the spectators sped up in fear as they watched this move. It was as if they were about to be crushed by the ocean in the next moment. Countless people cried out in alarm and retreated in panic. Akua lay and the others stood on the ground. They had the same feeling. They felt like they were going to be turned into ashes the next moment. However, there was an imposing figure in front of them. He burst out with a shocking aura and blocked everything for them. Roar. A faint dragon's roar came from his body. 2 streams of dragon energy burst forth, causing Lu Ming's body to glow with purple light again. Boom. This time, Lu Ming put away the infinite dragon spear. He stepped forward and struck out with his palm. This palm was very ordinary, but it seemed to have the power to suppress the heavens and split everything. With a loud boom, everyone was shocked to see that the sea seemed to have been split in half by Lu Ming's palm. Endless sea water swept in and then collapsed. Bang. In the middle of the ocean, a blue spear also collapsed. In the next moment, the ocean disappeared and so did the spear. The sky above Lishui City returned to its usual tranquility, and only a figure could be seen retreating rapidly, leaving a trail of blood in the air. Countless people looked at this scene in shock. This was because the person who had retreated was Hai Ziming. Hai Ziming was defeated and retreated while vomiting blood. Oh my god, even Hai Ziming was defeated. Lu Shaoqing's combat power is too shocking. In the entire central continent, Hai Ziming was about to be ranked as a third-class heaven's favorite, but he still lost. Could Lu Shaoqing be a third-class heaven's favorite? That's possible. Lu Shaoqing is a third-class heaven's favorite. That's terrifying. The surroundings were in an uproar. Countless people looked at Lu Ming in shock. Impossible, how is that possible? Ling Yunkong roared. His eyes were wide open in disbelief. Lu Ming had actually defeated Hai Ziming. How could he be so strong? One had to know that there were not many people in the vast central continent who could defeat Hai Ziming. After all, in the vast central continent, there were only 18 overlord forces. Even if some of the weaker forces also had peerless heaven's favorites, how many could there be? Ling Yunkong was furious, but the Shao family was ecstatic. They were saved. Ling Yunkong swore a blood oath that if Hai Ziming was defeated, he would not touch the Shao family in any way. I've lost. Hai Ziming stood in the air, his eyes full of surprise. Thanks for letting me win. Lu Ming cupped his hands. Lu Ming estimated that Hai Ziming's talent was not inferior to that of Wang Fenshan, Dong Fangyu, and the others from the Eastern Barren Territory. Lu Shaoqing, it's a pity that you didn't participate in the Battle of Providence with your talent and combat strength. However, the Battle of Providence is only one of the stops for us to rise. Even if you didn't participate, I believe that you can rise with your talent. Hai Ziming cupped his fists and revealed a look of admiration. He was very free and honest, completely different from Ling Yunkong. You're welcome. Lu Ming smiled faintly. He nodded in his heart. This was normal. It was impossible for everyone to be like Ling Yunkong. Otherwise, the floating mountain sect would really not be far from destruction. The battle is over. Ling Yunkong, from now on, we don't owe each other anything. Hai Ziming said as he looked at Ling Yunkong. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that Hai Ziming owed Ling Yunkong a favor, and that was why he helped him. With that, Hai Ziming's figure moved, turning into a rainbow light and disappearing into the sky. What's wrong? You're still not leaving? Lu Ming looked at Ling Yunkong. Ling Yunkong flicked his sleeve. He wanted to make things difficult for them, but he had already taken a blood oath, so he could only grit his teeth and leave. In fact, he couldn't even order others to deal with the Shao family in the future. In an instant, not a single person from the floating mountain martial school remained. Lu Ming came to the Shao family and waved his hand. Essential core surged out, and the essential core that sealed their cultivation was broken by Lu Ming. They regained their freedom. Thank you, young Master Lu. Thank you, young Master Lu, for saving my life. The Shao family members thanked Lu Ming profusely. This time, without Lu Ming, they would most likely be dead. Everyone, you don't have to be so polite. From now on, Ling Yunkong won't make things difficult for the Shao family. You can recall the other members of the Shao family. I will go and fetch Senior Shao and the others. Lu Ming said. Everyone from the Shao family nodded and moved in batches. Lu Ming stepped into the air and headed towards the small island. With Lu Ming's departure, the crowd dispersed as well. However, Lu Shaoqing's name had spread throughout the entire Lishui city at an alarming rate. It was believed that it would not be long before it spread throughout the territory controlled by the floating mountain sect. Many people were curious as to who Lu Shaoqing was, to suddenly appear after the Battle of Providence. When Xiao Zhan, a Lei and a Luo heard the specific news, they were overjoyed and grateful to Lu Ming. Lu Ming had completely wrestle-levered this matter. They did not need to run away in the future. Everyone returned to the Xiao family. Xiao Zhan made arrangements for the Xiao family to begin rebuilding the Xiao mansion. Because the Xiao family was previously affected by the war, many of their buildings were destroyed. As for Lu Ming, he continued to cultivate. Time flew by and another 10 days had passed. His water concept was slowly approaching level 3 upper tier. He was getting closer and closer to the other concepts. On this day, a piece of news quickly spread throughout the entire Lishui city. To the west of the city there was a black lake. In the middle of the black lake, there was a pristine water lotus that was about to mature. It's actually the cleansing water lotus throne? Let's go, we can't miss this. Let's go. As soon as the news spread, countless people were tempted and headed to the west of the city. However, there were also many people who were more sensible and did not go. The pure water lotus platform is so precious. It's very useful for the cultivation of the water mentality or the cultivation techniques of the water nature. It can even help one break through the bottleneck. It will definitely attract a lot of experts. Even many old monsters who have been living in seclusion for many years will appear. That's right. Although the pristine water lotus platform is not of much use to a 4th level will, it is of great help to a 3rd level will. Especially when a 3rd level will breaks through to the 4th level, it will be extremely useful. By that time there will be many experts. If we go, we will only be courting death. These people sneered and did not move. They just waited for news in Lishui city. Pure water lotus throne. Lu Ming's eyes glowed when he heard the news. He had to get the cleansing water lotus throne. As long as he got the pure water lotus throne, his water mentality would have a huge improvement in a short time. It might even surpass the other 4 mentalities and catch up. In this case, his cultivation base could start to improve again. It had been more than half a year, but his cultivation had not improved. Now, the other geniuses who had participated in the Battle of Providence were all cultivating in seclusion, digesting what they had gained. Their cultivation would definitely improve at a rapid pace. Lu Ming speculated that the cultivation of Di Shen, Shui Jini Ao2, and the others must have far surpassed his. Lu Ming had to quickly improve his water concept so that he could continue to improve his cultivation. Chapter 1008. 1008 The Fight for the Blackwater Mystical Snake. Lu Ming bade farewell to Xiao Zhan, A Luo, A Lei and the others. He had stayed in the Xiao family in Lishui City for long enough. It was time for him to leave. Big brother Lu, will you come to see us again in the future? Eiqing looked at Lu Ming, reluctant to leave. A Lei didn't say anything, but her eyes were the same, reluctant to leave. I will. When I have time I will come and visit you. You must cultivate well. If anything happens, just pass a message to me. Lu Ming smiled and nodded at Xiao Zhan. Then he rose into the air and left, flying in the direction of the Blackwater Lake. The Blackwater Lake was located a few million miles west of the city. The Blackwater Lake was not big. It was only about 100 miles in radius. When Lu Ming arrived, the Blackwater Lake was already surrounded by people. These people were not only from Lishui City but from all over the world. There were men and women, young and old. Many of them had powerful auras and profound cultivation. That's Lu Shaoqing. Lu Ming's arrival caused a commotion. Some people recognized him. Many people looked at him with solemnness and wariness. Lu Ming's combat strength was extremely terrifying. Even Hai Ziming was not his match. It could be said that there were few who could match him in the spirit embryo realm. This was a strong competitor. Lu Ming ignored everyone's gazes and looked at the Blackwater Lake. As its name suggested, the black water of the Blackwater Lake was black in color. It was said that the water was highly toxic, and even a spirit embryo realm expert would be in grave danger if they were to come into contact with it. In the middle of the Blackwater Lake, there was a green lotus platform. At this moment, it was emitting a strong medicinal fragrance. This was the pure water lotus throne. However, it was obvious that the pure water lotus throne was not fully mature. The cleansing water lotus throne was a special spiritual medicine. If it was not fully mature, it would not be a spiritual medicine but a poison. Only when it was fully mature would it be a spiritual medicine, which was of great help to the cultivation of water attribute techniques and the concept of water. So many experts have come. It seems like we have no chance. Look, that's Lu Shaoqing. He's the heaven's favorite who defeated Hai Ziming. His combat strength is extremely terrifying. There are also quite a few people at the peak of the Sea of Souls realm. An ordinary perfected spiritual ocean tier cultivator is nothing. There are a few experts at the level of old monsters. Around them, many people were discussing in low voices. Some people sighed, knowing that they had no hope. The so-called old monster level expert was a term used to address some extremely terrifying existences in the spirit embryo realm. Among those in the great circle of the spirit embryo realm, there were a few people who had awakened a divine bloodline but were stuck at the great circle of the spirit embryo realm and did not break through to the spiritual god realm. Those who had lived for a long time and were terrifying in all aspects were called old monsters. These people were different from ordinary great circle spirit embryos. When they were young, they were all god-tier heaven's favorites. However, it was extremely difficult to break through to the spirit god realm. Many prodigies with first or second rank divine bloodlines would be stuck at the limits of the spirit embryo realm and would not be able to break through for the rest of their lives. These people were the most terrifying ones among the spirit embryo realm. Their combat strength was extremely terrifying. There were a few of such people present today. Moreover, the number of people was still increasing. That's Yang Tsong, one of the 10 heavens favorites from the Floating Mountain sect. There's also Wukong, one of the top 10 heavens favorites. Someone exclaimed as they looked at the sky. From the east and west, there was a young man each walking through the air. His aura was dignified and extraordinary. Lu Ming's heart stirred. During this period of time, he had gained some understanding of the top 10 heavens favorites of the Floating Mountain sect. Yang Tsong was ranked 4th while Wukong was ranked 6th. Both of them were extremely powerful heaven's pride experts. Unexpectedly, the pristine water lotus throne had attracted all the heaven's favorites from the Floating Mountain sect. The eyes of many old monsters turned serious. Although the cultivation of heaven's favorites like Yang Tsong and Wukong were not as high as them, their combat strength could not be judged by common sense. Everyone waited quietly and more people arrived. Half a day later, the cleansing water lotus throne suddenly shone brightly. The strong medicinal fragrance could be smelled even from hundreds of miles away. The cleansing water lotus throne has matured. Countless people's eyes were burning with passion. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In an instant, at least a few hundred people charged towards the black water lake. Get lost, the cleansing water lotus throne is mine. You're looking for death, it's mine. You're the one who's going to die. Roars of anger rang out and all sorts of lights burst out. Screams of pain rang out continuously, and blood dyed the black water lake red. Wallah. The energy surged and the water of the black water lake churned and splashed. Ah! Shrill screams were heard. Some people were splashed by the water of the black water lake. They actually made sizzling sounds and their bodies were quickly corroded. Not good. Be careful. This lake water is poisonous. Many people shouted in shock and circulated their true yuan to protect themselves. However, the lake water was extremely poisonous. When it touched one's Zhen yuan, even the Zhen yuan would be quickly corroded. Get down. Roars of anger could be heard continuously. Some people were struck into the lake and were submerged by the water. Their protective Zhen yuan was quickly corroded. In the end, they let out miserable screams and died without a corpse. Many people were shocked and began to retreat, not daring to charge forward. It was too dangerous. In just a short while, over 100 people had died, and they were all strong practitioners of the spirit embryo realm and above. Those martial artists below the spirit embryo realm didn't dare to charge forward at all. As long as they were splashed by a drop of the lake water, they would be dead. However, there were still many people who charged forward. They were all experts, and with a glance, one could see that they were all experts at the 6th level spirit embryo realm or above. Suddenly, the water in the lake churned, and a few huge creatures appeared from the black water lake. They were huge black snakes with thick scales and cold eyes. Each of them was more than 10 meters in diameter. The giant black snake rolled and the lake water churned violently, stirring up thousands of waves. The waves swept toward many people and suddenly many people were swept into the lake, screaming in pain. Blackwater mystical snake. It's a blackwater mystical snake. Someone shouted in fear. Wallah. The blackwater mystical snake was a top level 7 demonic beast. In the blackwater lake it was like a fish in water, which was extremely terrifying. In the blackwater lake, a total of 6 blackwater shen snakes appeared, protecting the cleansing water lotus in the middle. They swept their tails, bringing up huge waves. No one dared to take it head-on and they all dodged. Evil creature, you're looking for death. A few white-haired old men shot out beams of divine light, dispersing the lake water and attacking the blackwater mystical snake. It's an expert at the level of an old monster. Someone shouted. The few elders were extremely powerful, far exceeding the average Great Circle Spirit embryo. At the same time, everyone saw that Yang Tsong and Wu Kong were also extremely powerful. They rushed forward and fought against Black Snake and Shen Snake. There were also some Great Circle 9th and 8th level Spirit embryo experts who were charging forward with all their might. The battle on the Blackwater Lake was endless and chaotic. Lu Ming mixed in with the crowd and rushed forward. He had the devouring power, so he was not afraid of the poison in the lake. However, he did not rush forward. Instead, he mixed in with the crowd and used his devouring power. Many experts had been killed. This was a huge resource. Lu Ming would not waste it. He clenched his fist and a powerful devouring force erupted, enveloping those who had been killed. In an instant, the rolling blood essence, true vitality, and intent runes were all devoured by Lu Ming. The 9-dragon bloodline began to be refined continuously. Lu Ming's water concept began to improve rapidly. Chapter 1009. 1009 Killing the Old Monster. On the lake, the battle was extremely fierce. The dark water mystical snake couldn't resist the attacks of so many powerful warriors. Its huge body was covered with wounds. 2 of them were killed and their huge bodies floated on the lake. The rest of the dark water mystical snakes sank into the lake. The cleansing water lotus throne is mine. As the blackwater mystical snake retreated, many people started to go crazy and rushed to the cleansing water lotus throne. You want to obtain the cleansing water lotus throne? You're courting death. A blue-haired elder bellowed and grabbed with his fingers, tearing apart several 8th and 9th level spirit embryo realm experts and killing them. Too powerful. This blue-haired elder's strength was far above that of an ordinary Great Circle spirit embryo. He was an expert on the level of an old monster. In other directions, there were also such experts who were rushing towards the cleansing water lotus throne. Among them, Yang Tsung and Wukong were also unrivaled, not any weaker than those old monsters. Buzz. At this moment, Lu Ming also began to move. His figure was like a stream of light, rushing towards the cleansing water lotus throne. His speed was extremely fast, leaving many people behind. Stay here. Suddenly, 2 terrifying attacks were directed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's gaze swept across and realized that the ones who attacked him were 2 elders. These 2 elders had the cultivation of a perfected spirit embryo, but they were just ordinary perfected spirit embryos. You're looking for death. Lu Ming shouted coldly. Devouring power burst out from his left palm and enveloped the 2 elders. He pointed out 2 fingers with his right palm and 2 spear lights appeared, pointing at the 2 elders. Not good. Retreat. Being enveloped by the devouring power, the 2 old men felt that all the energy in their bodies was being devoured. They could not use their strength at all. At the same time, the 2 spear lights were extremely terrifying, giving them a fatal threat. The 2 of them bellowed in anger, their eyes flashing with extreme fear. They knew that they had encountered a terrifying heaven's favorite. However, it was too late to retreat now. The 2 spear lights arrived in front of the 2 of them in an instant. Spare me? The 2 of them screamed, but the next moment, the spear light pierced through their foreheads. The devouring power burst out and devoured the essence of the 2 elders. Lu Ming could kill ordinary perfected spirit embryos with a flip of his hand. Buzz. Lu Ming's figure moved and he rushed forward at an extremely fast speed. Very soon he was at the forefront. Die. A cold roar was heard, and the terrifying claw radiance was aimed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming did not hesitate and struck with his palm. Bang. His palm struck a blue claw. His body only swayed slightly, but the other party was forced to retreat. Lu Ming took a look. It was the blue-haired elder, an expert at the level of an old monster. At this moment, the elder looked at Lu Ming with a grave expression. The old man had not expected a young man to be so powerful. Lu Ming glanced at him and did not continue to attack. Instead, he rushed towards the cleansing water lotus throne. There were already people approaching from other directions. The blue-haired elder's expression changed. He didn't continue to attack and rushed towards the cleansing water lotus throne. A blue divine eagle and a golden chakra appeared above his head. He performed the bloodline fusion and turned into a blue divine eagle, pouncing toward the cleansing water lotus throne. From all directions, a total of 7 figures approached the pristine water lotus throne. Yang Tsung, Wukong, Lu Ming and 4 other elders. The 7 of them were the fastest and approached the cleansing water lotus throne. Get lost. You're the one who's getting lost. The 7 of them exchanged glances, and a great battle suddenly erupted. Terrifying attacks poured towards each other, and a chaotic battle broke out. However, everyone intentionally avoided the pristine water lotus throne, and the chi did not land on it. Boom. Boom. The explosions continued and all kinds of light flew around. Selah. A blue divine eagle pounced at Lu Ming with a terrifying gust of wind. It was that blue-haired old man again. Old man, you're looking for death. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. A 5-colored light burst forth as he activated the prison-suppressing heaven technique and struck out with his palm. Bang. The palm hit the blue godly hawk and shattered its talons. The blue-haired elder's figure reappeared. Blood spurted out of his mouth as he quickly retreated with fear in his eyes. Then the terrifying devouring power enveloped him. Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared in front of the blue-haired elder, striking out with his palm. Wait, spare me. The blue-haired elder screamed in horror, but Lu Ming's palm did not stop and continued to strike. Gotcha. The blue-haired elder's body had a huge hole in it, and blood was flowing out from it. However, he was not dead yet and he wanted to run for his life. Now he couldn't care less about the cleansing water lotus throne. All he wanted to do was to escape and escape. However, how could Lu Ming let him escape? Bang. He took a step forward and the power of the 9 dragons stepping on air exploded. The blue-haired elder screamed in pain, and his 4 parts were intact. Subsequently, Lu Ming devoured all the essence of the blue-haired elder. The blue-haired elder had only awakened a first-level divine bloodline. How could he be a match for Lu Ming? Even though his cultivation level was 2 levels higher than Lu Ming's, he was still easily killed. Behind him, the other people who were chasing after him were shocked. Lu Ming was too terrifying. An old monster-level expert was killed just like that. They looked at Lu Ming with fear in their eyes. At this moment, the fight for the cleansing water lotus throne was still going on. Yang Tsong and Wu Kong joined forces to fight against the 3 old monsters. They were at a disadvantage. Buzz. Lu Ming stepped forward and approached the pristine water lotus. Lu Shaoqing. Yang Tsong's gaze swept toward Lu Ming with a hint of solemnity. Obviously, he already knew that Lu Ming had defeated Hai Ziming. Hai Ziming's abilities were not weaker than his. He was not confident that Lu Ming could defeat Hai Ziming. Lu Ming glanced at the crowd indifferently. He stepped forward and stretched out his palm to grab the cleansing water lotus throne. Don't even think about it. Wu Kong's eyes glinted coldly as he thrust the long spear in his hand at Lu Ming. Lu Ming struck with his palm. Wu Kong's body trembled and he retreated. Boom. Then Lu Ming threw a punch and an old monster retreated while vomiting blood. CSI. Many people gasped. Lu Ming was too powerful. Wu Kong, an expert at the level of an old monster, was easily injured by Lu Ming. No one could stop him. You'd better not court death. Lu Ming's eyes swept across the group. The old monsters Yang Tsong and Wu Kong all had ugly expressions on their faces. Lu Shaoqing, you may be strong, but there are so many of us here. We don't have to be afraid of you, Wu Kong said. At this time, many experts had appeared in all directions. However, they were watching from afar and did not dare to get close. You guys can try, Lu Ming said coldly. Yang Tsong, Wu Kong, I suggest that we join hands and defeat this man. Then we will seize the platform with our own abilities. Otherwise, we will not get anything if this man takes the platform. One of the old monsters said. All right, I agree. Wu Kong nodded. Yang Tsong frowned. He did not want to offend a prodigy like Lu Ming unless it was absolutely necessary. Yang Tsong, what about you? Wu Kong looked at Yang Kong. Chapter 1010. 1010 Chapter 1010 Suppressing the crowd. Yang Tsong muttered to himself for a moment, then actually took a few steps back and said, although the cleansing water lotus throne is precious, it is not of much use to me. I will not fight for this lotus throne. All right, you said it. Wu Kong's eyes brightened. Yang Tsong was a formidable opponent. If they backed out now, they would have one less powerful opponent after they defeated Lu Ming. In Wu Kong's mind, his greatest opponent here was Lu Ming, followed by Yang Kong. As for the old monsters, Wu Kong was not afraid. The few old monsters' eyes lit up and they looked at Lu Ming one after another. Now he only had to deal with Lu Ming. Boom, boom, boom. A berserk aura rose up. A bright light appeared above the heads of Wu Kong and the 3 old monsters. All kinds of bloodlines appeared. Among the 3 old monsters, 2 of them had second-level divine-level bloodlines, while the other had first-level divine-level bloodlines. Each of them had a cultivation base at the peak of spirit embryo perfection. As for Wu Kong, he had a 6th-level divine-level bloodline and his cultivation was at the later stage of the 8th-level spirit embryo realm. However, the strength of his aura was stronger than any old monster. Almost at the same time, the 4 of them combined their blood meridians and attacked Lu Ming. Roar. A dragon's roar came from within Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming burst out with dragon energy, and a layer of purple light spread across the surface of his body. His dragon power burst forth and his strength increased greatly. Lu Ming took a step forward and threw a few punches in succession. Boom, 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 boom. The space trembled, and the terrifying fist force attacked the 4 people. The 3 old monsters were forced to retreat. Only Wu Kong was in a better state, but he was also forced to retreat. A 5-colored radiance covered both his fists as he activated the prison-suppressing heavenly art. The might of this technique was incomparably terrifying. With the improvement of the water concept, the power of the 5 concepts erupting at the same time was getting stronger and stronger. The punch seemed to be able to destroy everything. Fight, fight. Lu Ming let out a long howl as his fighting spirit burst forth. The light shone brightly, making him look like a young god of war. He moved unhindered and his fist radiance shook the sky. With his strength alone he suppressed the 4 people. the space rumbled and dozens of loud sounds rang out in succession. Not far away, Yang Tsong was extremely shocked. He then gave a bitter smile. As expected of someone who could defeat Hai Ziming, he was not his opponent. Further away, the others were even more shocked. Lu Ming actually suppressed 4 experts by himself. It should be known that in the eyes of ordinary people, experts at the level of old monsters were almost invincible existences in the spirit embryo realm. They had awakened a divine bloodline but had not entered the spiritual god realm. They had cultivated for at least 1,000 years, and some had even cultivated for 2,000 to 3,000 years. How terrifying was that? Furthermore, there was also the monstrous genius Wukong. The 4 of them joined forces, but they were still not Lu Ming's match. After dozens of moves, Wukong and the other 3 finally could not withstand it. Under the pressure of Lu Ming's terrifying fist force, they all turned into human forms. Their bodies rose and fell and their breathing was weak. They were more or less injured. At this moment, the 4 of them were extremely shocked. They looked at Lu Ming in disbelief. A third-class heaven's favorite. Lu Shaoqing's combat strength has definitely reached the level of a third-class heaven's favorite. That's right. Even some of the weaker third-grade heaven's favorites don't have such battle power. A third-grade heaven's favorite. They are the most powerful people in the central continent. The floating mountain sect only has 3. Waves of discussions could be heard in the surroundings. No one dared to step forward. Even if the cleansing water lotus throne was right in front of them, they did not dare to step forward. In front of Lu Ming's combat strength, an ordinary perfected spirit embryo could be killed with a flip of his hand. Who would dare to step forward? Lu Ming swept a glance at the crowd and then stepped forward toward the cleansing water lotus throne. Wukong and the other old monsters did not move. Although they were unwilling, they knew that this time the cleansing water lotus throne was Lu Ming's. No one could compete with him. Voila! At this moment, the water in the lake churned and a huge creature suddenly appeared. It swallowed the pristine water lotus throne in one gulp and then went into the water. It was a giant snake, the Blackwater mystical snake. No, that was not the black serpent. It was even bigger than the dark water mystical snake, and its aura was even more shocking. It was the king of the dark water mystical snakes, the dark water king snake. You're looking for death. Lu Ming shouted coldly and took a few steps forward. The 9 dragons' heaven-stomping steps burst out, and the terrifying power blasted into the black water lake. Boom, boom, boom. The entire black water lake started to shake and huge waves rose to the sky. Ah, this is bad. Lu Shaoqing has gone mad. Go, go. Quickly retreat. In the surroundings, the experts flew up into the sky in fear and then towards the shore. The water in the lake churned and huge waves rose to the sky. Under the bombardment of the terrifying power, the shadow of the Blackwater King Snake was faintly visible. Lu Ming waved his hand and hundreds of long spears were condensed in the air, shooting toward the lake. The King Black Snake let out an angry hiss and rushed out of the Blackwater Lake, flying towards the shore. It's not the Blackwater King Snake, it's a human, he said. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. This Blackwater King Snake wasn't the real one. Someone with the Blackwater King Snake bloodline had used a bloodline fusion. This person was very scheming. His bloodline was the Blackwater King Snake, so he was not afraid of the poison in the Blackwater Lake. He had already dived to the bottom of the lake, waiting for the opportunity to seize the pristine water lotus throne. However, how could Lu Ming let this person get away so easily? He took a step forward and chased after the Blackwater King Snake like a stream of light. Just as the Blackwater King Snake was about to escape from the black water, a white blade light slashed at it. The blade light was extremely terrifying, emitting a bone-chilling cold. The Black Snake King Snake was shocked. Its huge snake body curled up and turned back into its human form. This was an old man whose hair was about to fall out. His eyes were sinister. He dodged the blade light and wanted to escape from the other side. However, at this moment, Lu Ming had already arrived. He threw a punch and the light from his fist enveloped the old man. His body trembled and was blocked. Blackwater old monster. Someone cried out in surprise, recognizing the old man. The bloodline that this old man had awakened was actually a third-level divine level. However, for some unknown reason he had not broken through to the spiritual god realm. However, his combat strength was extremely powerful and he was very famous in the region of the Floating Mountain sect. See la la. At this moment, the surrounding temperature dropped sharply. Many people looked around and widened their eyes. It turned out that the blade light did not hit Old Monster Blackwater, but the Blackwater Lake. At this time the entire Blackwater Lake was frozen, and the 100-mile Blackwater Lake became an ice lake. A tall and burly young man stepped through the air and appeared on the other side of Blackwater Monster. He stood on either side of Lu Ming and surrounded Blackwater Monster in the middle. Chu Kuang. It's Chu Kuang. Someone exclaimed. Chu Kuang actually came too. This is going to be interesting. Could it be that Chu Kuang has also taken a fancy to the cleansing water lotus throne? While many people were shocked, their eyes also lit up. Chu Kuang, who was ranked second among the top 10 Heaven's Pride experts of the Floating Mountain Martial School, had appeared. Chu Kuang had a burly figure and was dressed casually. He carried a saber on his back. His gaze passed over Old Monster Blackwater and landed on Lu Ming. You're Lu Shaoqing? Chu Kuang asked. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded. I heard that you defeated Ling Yunkong and Hai Ziming? Chu Kuang asked again. That's right. Do you want to stand up for them? Lu Ming said. Chapter 10-11. 1011 Fighting Chu Kuang. Ha ha ha. Chu Kuang suddenly laughed. After a while he said, Stand up for them? How was that possible? For someone like Ling Yunkong, if I were to see him using the name of the Floating Mountain Martial School to commit crimes, I would immediately behead him with a single blade. Lu Ming's eyes flickered, but he did not say anything. He had heard of the name Chu Kuang before. Chu Kuang was ranked second among the 10 Heaven's Pride experts of the Floating Mountain Martial School. He was incomparably powerful and had unparalleled talent. At the same time, this person was wild and unruly and liked to make friends. From the looks of it, he was indeed not someone like Ling Yunkong. I was just passing by today. I didn't expect to encounter such an interesting thing. I like to find experts to spar with. Lu Shaoqing, fight with me. I'll use this pristine water lotus as a bet. If you win, you can take the pristine water lotus. If I win, the pristine water lotus will belong to me. How about it? Chu Kuang said as he looked at Lu Ming. He still did not look at Old Monster Blackwater. All right. Lu Ming nodded and agreed without hesitation. Chu Kuang was clearly a warmonger. Lu Ming knew that it was useless to avoid a fight against such a person. It would be better to fight him. As long as his combat strength was stronger than his opponent would naturally be convinced. Boom. Boom. Lu Ming and Chu Kuang's auras exploded as they faced each other from a distance. The early stage of the 9th level spirit embryo realm is indeed powerful. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. Chu Kuang's cultivation had already reached the early stage of the 9th level spirit embryo realm, which was even higher than the Emperor Gods in the Battle of Providence. Of course, a high cultivation did not mean that his combat strength was stronger than the Emperor Gods. Detestable. Old Monster Blackwater was sandwiched between the two, and his face turned ugly. These two were going to fight and he was completely ignored. He gritted his teeth and rushed to the side, trying to escape. At this moment, Lu Ming and Chu Kuang both moved and attacked Old Monster Blackwater. The terrifying qi enveloped Old Monster Blackwater, and his face turned pale. Old Monster Blackwater used all his strength to attack, but the qi from Lu Ming and Chu Kuang kept falling on his body, causing him to shake violently. Lu Ming and Chu Kuang were crossing swords with Old Monster Blackwater. No matter how powerful Blackwater was, having awakened a 3rd-level divine-level bloodline and cultivated for thousands of years, he was still in a miserable state in the battle between Lu Ming and Chu Kuang. He could not charge forward at all. Instead, he was sent flying here and there, blood spurting from his mouth. Boom, boom, boom. Lu Ming's fists continued to bombard the air, and streams of fist radiance shot forward like meteors. Chu Kuang's palms continued to swing out, and streams of bone-chilling saber radiance burst out. The pitiful Old Monster Blackwater was stuck in the middle, desperately trying to resist. It was a tragic sight. The surrounding onlookers looked at each other and couldn't help but sympathize with Old Monster Blackwater. Arg, I don't want the purified water lotus anymore. I will give it to you. Old Monster Blackwater took out the cleansing water lotus throne and threw it into the distance. Lu Ming and Chu Kuang deliberately avoided the pristine water lotus thrones. Old Monster Blackwater also took the opportunity to break out of the encirclement and escaped far away. He looked at the scene with lingering fear. Haha, with one less hindrance, it's just nice to fight with all my strength. Chu Kuang laughed as he unsheathed the saber on his back. An even more terrifying and cold saber radiance burst out. Good. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. He strode forward and slowly increased the power of the prison-suppressing heaven technique as he fought Chu Kuang. As for the pristine water lotus throne, no one dared to touch it. Everyone knew that if anyone dared to take this opportunity to seize the pristine water lotus throne, they would immediately end up like old monster Heishui. They were not sure if they could survive the battle between the two Heaven's Pride level experts. In the blink of an eye, the two of them had exchanged dozens of moves. Chu Kuang was very strong. His cultivation was at the early stage of the 9th level spirit embryo realm, and the bloodline he had awakened was definitely not weak. It was very likely to be a 7th level divine level bloodline. Lu Ming felt that Chu Kuang was a Heaven's Pride expert on the same level as Xue Jinyi and AO2. If they were to fight at the same level, Chu Kuang would not be weaker than Xue Jinyi, AO2 and the others. His combat strength was extremely terrifying. Selah. Chu Kuang's saber slashed out and a terrifying saber light flashed. A white ice crystal appeared in the air, and the layer of ice on the black lake became thicker and thicker. He has actually cultivated the ice concept to such a level. No, there is also the water concept. Lu Ming's heart stirred. It was obvious that Chu Kuang had merged the ice and water concepts together, and the power had increased by several times. Roar. A dragon's roar resounded as two more streams of dragon energy burst out from Lu Ming's body. With the dragon's roar, Lu Ming's strength increased greatly. He took a step forward and his fist radiance shook the sky. The fist radiance shattered Chu Kuang's blade light, filling the sky with ice shards. Chu Kuang's eyes revealed a serious look. Above his head, an ice river actually appeared. On the ice river, 7 meridian cycles shone. He had indeed awakened a 7th level divine level bloodline. As soon as the ice river appeared, the air became even colder. Hundreds of miles around them were covered in the cold air. Many people retreated. If they were covered by the ice, even their Zhenyuan would be frozen. However, Chu Kuang's bloodline appeared, but he did not merge his bloodline. Instead, with a flash of his eyes, his bloodline re-entered his body. He retreated quickly and dodged Lu Ming's fist radiance. He shouted, "Stop, stop, I'm not fighting anymore, I'm not fighting anymore. I've lost this battle." Lu Ming was stunned and stopped. The crowd was also stunned. Chu Kuang had clearly not used his full strength yet. Why did he stop and admit defeat? Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. Chu Kuang was a very straightforward person. He probably felt that even if he fused with the bloodline, he wouldn't be confident, so he simply admitted defeat. Lu Shaoqing, I'm impressed, I'm impressed. This pristine water lotus throne is yours. Chu Kuang sheathed his saber and grinned. Lu Ming stretched out his hand and sucked the cleansing water lotus throne into his palm, storing it in his storage ring. Many people had envious looks on their faces, especially the older generation who were stuck at the perfected spirit embryo realm. They were even more envious. However, they did not dare to make a move against an expert like Lu Ming. Many thanks. Lu Ming put away the pristine water lotus throne. He was in a good mood and cupped his fists at Chu Kuang. Haha, no need to be so polite. I was no match for you. Of course, this cleansing water lotus throne is yours. Lu Shaoqing, it's a pity that I didn't see you in the Battle of Providence. If you think highly of me, how about we be friends? I'll treat you to a drink. Chu Kuang laughed. He was very forthright. Lu Ming nodded in his heart. This Chu Kuang was indeed as the rumors said. He was bold and uninhibited and liked to make friends. He was not someone that Ling Yunkong could compare to. Since Brother Chu has invited me, I naturally have to give him face. Unfortunately, I need to find a place to cultivate in seclusion for a while. I'm afraid we can't have a drink together, Lu Ming said. Chu Kuang nodded and said, I understand. How about this? I'll be in the Sunset Moon City for the time being. If Brother Lu ends his seclusion in 10 days, you can come to the Sunset Moon City to find me. There's going to be a grand event soon. I'll go and take a look with Brother Lu. After saying this much, Chu Kuang turned around and stepped into the air. Looking at Chu Kuang's back, Lu Ming was reminded of Yen Kuangtu. Their personalities were very similar, both bold and uninhibited. However, Yen Kuangtu was even more arrogant, unruly, and audacious than Chu Kuang. He was more arrogant than Chu Kuang and didn't give face to anyone. In comparison, he had fewer friends. After Chu Kuang left, Lu Ming's figure flashed and he soared into the sky, leaving the place as well. Chapter 10-12. 1012 Fourth Level Water Concept. After traveling hundreds of thousands of miles, Lu Ming appeared at the bottom of a small lake. He then entered the mountain and river diagram and sat cross-legged on a mountain peak. He began to refine the blood essence energy and runes that he had devoured. This time, Lu Ming had devoured more than 100 experts above the spirit embryo realm. Among them, there was no lack of 8th or 9th level spirit embryo realm and even perfected spirit embryo realm. Furthermore, many of them cultivated the concept of water. So many concept runes were continuously refined and integrated into Lu Ming's own water concept runes. His water concept was rapidly improving. In just a few hours, Lu Ming's water concept had broken through to level 3 upper tier and continued to improve. The early stage of the third level, the middle stage and the late stage. When all the concept runes were refined, Lu Ming's water concept rose to the late stage of level 3. When Lu Ming's concept of water advanced to the later stage of the third level, the spirit embryo in his dantian finally erupted with a powerful suction force. The energy that had been devoured seemed to have found an outlet and was frantically converted into essential core, increasing Lu Ming's cultivation. Lu Ming's cultivation, which had stagnated for more than half a year, began to improve rapidly. The early stage of the 8th level spirit embryo realm, the middle stage of the 8th level spirit embryo realm. When everyone's energy was refined, Lu Ming's cultivation rose to the peak of the 8th level spirit embryo realm. However, his bloodline had not been upgraded. All the blood essence he had used to upgrade his 9-dragon bloodline was obviously not enough. After refining all the energy, Lu Ming opened his eyes and a lotus platform appeared in his hand. The lotus platform had 81 petals, and each petal was filled with a strong water concept and water spiritual qi. Lu Ming planned to use the pristine water lotus throne to continue improving his water concept. He first plucked 3 petals and swallowed them. The refined flower petal melted in his mouth and a cool feeling flowed down his throat. It turned into a cool energy that filled Lu Ming's entire body. At this moment, Lu Ming felt as if he was surrounded by endless water vapor. He could clearly sense the concept of water. Lu Ming closed his eyes and continued to cultivate in seclusion. When the energy of the 3 flower petals disappeared, Lu Ming plucked another 3 flower petals and swallowed them. Lu Ming's water concept began to improve rapidly again. After refining 27 flower petals, his water concept had broken through to the full stage of level 3 and was on par with the wind, fire and thunder concepts. It was even slightly higher than the earth concept. His earth will was only at the peak of level 3 upper tier. It was still a step away from the full circle of level 3. This was not the end. Lu Ming continued to refine the remaining flower petals. He was trying to break through to the 4th level of the water concept. The cleansing water lotus throne was extremely useful for 3rd level intent realm and the advancement of 3rd level intent realm to 4th level intent realm. It wasn't just for show. It was indeed miraculous. Moreover, Lu Ming's current level of comprehension was terrifying. Therefore, when all the petals were refined, Lu Ming actually broke through the bottleneck in one go and his water concept broke through to the 4th level. The water concept was the concept that Lu Ming had comprehended the latest. He did not expect that he would be the first to break through to level 4. Lu Ming opened his eyes, looking delighted. To be able to break through to level 4 was also beyond his expectations. He didn't have much hope of successfully breaking through. After all, the 4th level intent realm was the last intent realm. It was extremely difficult to break through. Many of the older generation were stuck at this step, unable to break through for their entire lives. Lu Ming did not expect that he would break through this time. Lu Ming estimated that this had a lot to do with his immense luck and the tenfold increase in his comprehension. Otherwise, he would not have been able to break through to level 4 so easily, even with a treasure like the cleansing water lotus throne. Of course, the stage of the spiritual god realm was not as simple as just the concept. Some people could not break through to the spiritual god realm even after their concept had broken through to the 4th level. Of course, Lu Ming was still a distance away from breaking through to the spiritual god realm. There was no need to consider it for the time being. 10 days have passed. It's time for me to leave. I'll travel and cultivate while heading to the ancient Saint dynasty. Lu Ming pondered in his heart. This was his current plan. At the moment, his cultivation was still weak. Even if he reached the ancient Saint dynasty, he would not have the ability to take Xian Yanqing away. He planned to travel around while taking risks to cultivate and improve his strength. After exiting the mountain and river diagram, Lu Ming soared into the sky and headed west. Lu Ming's speed was not very fast. However, one day later he had covered a distance of millions of miles. A large city appeared in front of them. On the city gate there were 3 big words Sunset Moon City. Lu Ming's heart stirred. It was such a coincidence. Chu Kuang had said that if Lu Ming ended his closed-door cultivation 10 days later, he could come to the Waning Moon residence in the Sunset Moon City to have a drink with Chu Kuang. Previously, Lu Ming did not take it to heart. He did not expect that he would still come to the Sunset Moon City. Since you're here, let's go to the Xiaoya house. Chu Kuang said that there will be a grand event soon. What is it? Lu Ming smiled and walked into the Sunset Moon City. Sunset Moon City was huge, twice the size of Lishui City, and the Howling Moon House was very famous in the city. This was because the Xiaoya house was the biggest restaurant in the Sunset Moon City. After asking around, Lu Ming found out where the Xiaoya house was. After turning a few streets, a 5-story restaurant appeared in front of him. Guest, do you want a drink? Even in the entire floating mountain range, the wine of our shop is among the best. Lu Ming had just entered the restaurant when a waiter came up to him. I'm here to find someone, Lu Ming said. Oh, who are you looking for? This little one will have some impression of anyone who comes into this shop to drink. The waiter replied. Chu Kuang, Lu Ming said. So you're the guest that young Master Chu Kuang was waiting for. Young Master Chu Kuang is in the private room on the 5th floor. He has been drinking here for 3 days. He said that a friend will come to look for him in the next few days. I think it must be you, young master. Please follow me. The waiter said. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. He did not expect Chu Kuang to really be waiting for him here. He had even waited for 3 days. It seemed that Chu Kuang was right to say that he liked to make friends. He followed the waiter to a private room on the 5th floor. Before the waiter could announce his arrival, a loud laugh came from the private room. Haha, I could feel your presence the moment Brother Lu arrived. Squeak. The door of the private room opened and Chu Kuang walked out with a smile on his face. The waiter also left. Brother Chu, were you waiting for me? Lu Ming asked. That's right. Since I said I wanted to be friends with you, I naturally had to wait for you here. However, I was going to wait for 1 more day at most. If you didn't come by then, I would have to leave. Fortunately, you came. It seems that Brother Lu still acknowledges me, ha. Chu Kuang laughed heartily. Lu Ming felt ashamed in his heart. He did not plan to come at first. He just happened to pass by Sunset Moon City and decided to come and take a look. Brother Lu, please, the wine is ready. Chu Kuang waved his hand and Lu Ming and Chu Kuang entered the private room one after another. In the corner of the private room, there were already a few empty jars. It was obvious that Chu Kuang had drunk a lot of wine these few days. Haha, Brother Lu, you must be joking. I'm a person who loves wine as much as my life. I have to come to this Moonhall Tavern's wine every once in a while. Chu Kuang laughed. On the table, there were already 2 jars of wine. Chapter 1013. 1013 The Heaven's Pride Level of the Central Continent. Lu Ming opened the cover of a jar of wine and took a big gulp. He immediately felt a lingering fragrance in his mouth and could not help but praise, "Good wine." Chu Kuang also picked up the wine jar and took a big gulp. Then he looked at Lu Ming and said, "Brother Lu, you didn't use your full strength in the battle that day, did you?" "Brother Chu, what makes you think so?" Lu Ming smiled and did not give a direct reply. "Feeling." Chu Kuang said, "I have a feeling that if I continue to fight, I will definitely lose. Moreover, I will lose miserably. Therefore, I admitted defeat so as not to embarrass myself." Ah. Lu Ming smiled faintly and did not comment. Of course, he had not used his full strength back then. "Brother Lu, you're not from the Central Continent, are you?" Chu Kuang suddenly said. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat and his eyes flashed. "Brother Chu, what makes you think so?" "It's just a random guess. Every time there's a battle of providence, all the heroes in the world will be dispatched. They won't miss this opportunity. Brother Lu, you're so talented, but I've never seen you in the battle of providence. I'm just curious. So I'm guessing that Brother Lu might be a peerless genius from the East Baron, northern plains or southern nether? Chu Kuang laughed. Brother Chu, you're thinking too much. I've been cultivating in the mountains all this time, so I missed the Battle of Providence. Lu Ming said. Haha, Brother Lu, don't think too much. I'm just asking. I like to make friends with all the heroes in the world, especially one like Brother Lu. No matter where you're from, I'm definitely going to make friends with you. Please. Chu Kuang lifted the wine jar and said. Lu Ming also picked up the wine jar and took a big gulp. Chu Kuang's words didn't seem to be false. He was just casually asking. This was indeed the case. The battle of karmic luck had already ended, and yet such a genius had suddenly appeared. Everyone was curious. However, Lu Ming was not very worried because his second body was in the Yin and Yang mountain. He would appear occasionally during this period of time. De and Martial Emperor would not suspect that Lu Ming would appear in the central continent. After all, the twin forbidden technique was too freakish. No one would believe it if they didn't see it with their own eyes. Furthermore, Lu Ming did not reveal many of his signature bloodlines in the central continent, nor did he show any signs of the dragon bloodline's eruption. No one would suspect that he was Lu Ming from the East Baron. The two of them drank and chatted casually. Lu Ming also took the opportunity to ask Chu Kuang about the specific situation of the major forces in the central continent. In the central continent, there were a total of 18 overlord forces, both humans and demons. They each occupied the vast East Baron. Each overlord force had an emperor in charge and was extremely powerful. Under the 18 overlord forces, there were many other powerful forces. Some of them were extremely powerful and had supreme beings as their leaders. Lu Ming sighed to himself. The central continent was indeed powerful. The Eastern Baron territory could not compare to it. He wondered how powerful the ancient sacred dynasty of the central continent was when they were victorious. Brother Lu, in my opinion, you have a great chance of becoming a second-grade heaven's favorite. Chu Kuang sighed. Second-class heaven's favorite? Lu Ming was a little surprised. Oh, so Brother Lu doesn't know about this? In the central continent, the top Heaven's Pride experts are divided into 3 ranks. I am a third-grade Heaven's Pride expert, and in the Floating Mountain sect, there are only 3 Heaven's Pride experts above the 3rd grade. The others like Yang Tsong and Hai Ziming you've seen before are not even in the 3rd grade. Chu Kuang explained. Brother Chu is only a 3rd grade Heaven's favorite. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Chu Kuang's talent was definitely not inferior to that of Blood Sword 1 and AO2 from the East Baron. However, he was only a 3rd grade Heaven's favorite. If he was a 2nd grade or even a 1st grade Heaven's favorite, how terrifying would that be? That's right, I'm only a 3rd class Heaven's favorite, and in the Floating Mountain sect, only the first among the younger generation can be considered a 2nd class Heaven's favorite. However, there aren't many 2nd class Heaven's favorites in the central continent, only about 20 of them. Chu Kuang said. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. Chu Kuang was only a 3rd grade Heaven's favorite. A 2nd grade Heaven's favorite must be stronger and more talented. Lu Ming speculated that a 2nd grade Heaven's favorite was most likely at the level of an Emperor God. If they were really at the level of Emperor Gods, there were actually more than 20 of them, which was terrifying. Emperor Gods were said to be able to inherit the legacy of Martial Emperor De and have the potential to become emperors in the future. They were extremely rare in the entire history of the Eastern Baron territory. There were more than 20 Heaven's favorites of this level in the central continent. What about the stronger 1st grade Heaven's favorites? Chu Kuang seemed to have read Lu Ming's mind. He continued, above 2nd grade Heaven's Pride experts are 1st grade Heaven's Pride experts. However, there are only 5 of them and they are known as the top 5 young warriors. Each of them is a figure that can suppress an era. They are incomparably terrifying, peerless, and extremely powerful. Chu Kuang's eyes were filled with deep respect and fear. It was obvious that the top 5 young warriors held a high position in his heart. The top 5 young warriors. Lu Ming's eyes glowed with a strong fighting spirit. Supreme talents like the Emperor God were also extremely powerful and could become emperors in the future. They were all incredible existences. However, Lu Ming was not under too much pressure because he had fought with the Emperor God. Although the Emperor God was extremely terrifying, Lu Ming was confident that he would be able to suppress the Emperor God again if he met him in the future. However, those who surpassed the Emperor God level were terrifying. Lu Ming could not imagine how powerful they were. However, this made Lu Ming even more excited. Lu Ming was not afraid of having an opponent. He was afraid of not having an opponent. With an opponent he would have pressure and motivation. The Central Continent was indeed more brilliant than the East Continent. The competition between geniuses was more intense. The battle for providence in the Central Continent must be extremely intense. It's a pity that I'm not in the Central Continent. Lu Ming secretly felt that it was a pity. Brother Lu, do you still remember that I said there would be a grand event in the near future? In 10 days, the 2 second-class Heaven's favorites will fight at the Pillar of Heaven's mountains. That will definitely attract a lot of attention. After the Battle of Providence, many Heaven's favorites will probably go into seclusion and come out again. Chu Kuang said. Lu Ming's eyes flickered with a hint of anticipation. He speculated that a second-grade Heaven's favorite was a Heaven's favorite at the level of an Emperor God. A battle between 2 such Heaven's favorites was indeed a grand event. It was definitely a rare sight and Lu Ming did not want to miss it. This was a good opportunity for him to see how strong Central Continent's top Heaven's favorites were. Why are 2 such geniuses fighting? Lu Ming asked curiously. One of them is Master Blood Luo from Cold Blood Hall, and the other is Yin Bupo from Sky Eagle Castle. They are the strongest experts among the younger generation in their respective forces, and they have a grudge against each other. So, it's normal for Master Blood Luo and Yin Bupo to not get along. The 2 of them exchanged thousands of blows in the Battle of Providence, but neither of them won. They agreed to fight another day, and the date of their next battle is in 10 days. Chu Kuang explained. Lu Ming nodded. So that was the case. Brother Chu, when do we leave? Lu Ming asked. We can leave immediately. But before we go to the Pillar of Heaven's mountains, I have to go back to the floating mountain. Brother Lu, do you dare to go with me? Chu Kuang said. Why wouldn't I? Lu Ming smiled. Chapter 10:14. 1014 The Divine Mountain in the Sky. The floating mountain sect was one of the overlords of the Central Continent. Naturally, it had an extraordinary atmosphere. However, Lu Ming was still a little stunned after seeing it. In front of him was the boundless water. Above the boundless water, there was a huge divine mountain floating in the air. This huge mountain had no end in sight. It was like the legendary divine mountain where ancient gods lived. It was suspended in the air thousands of meters high. The floating mountain, as its name suggested, was really a floating divine mountain. From a distance, the floating mountain was filled with clouds and water vapor. Under the sunlight, rainbows hung in the sky. At first glance, there were countless rainbows, which were extremely dazzling, like a paradise on earth. What a great floating mountain! Lu Ming could not help but sigh in admiration. Ah! Let's go! Chu Kuang laughed and flew towards the floating mountain with Lu Ming. With Chu Kuang leading the way, they naturally entered the floating mountain. Lu Shaoqing. At this moment, a voice of disbelief was heard. Lu Ming turned around and could not help but find it funny. Wasn't that Ling Yunkong? Lu Shaoqing, you dare to come to the floating mountain? Ling Yunkong's eyes were wide open. He was stunned for a moment before he turned around and saw Chu Kuang. His expression changed. What's wrong? Brother Lu is my friend. Do you have a problem with him? I've heard a few things about you from Brother Lu. Chu Kuang looked at Ling Yunkong and licked his lips. An ominous glint flashed in his eyes. Ling Yunkong's expression changed again. His face turned pale and bloodless. He hurriedly said, No, Lu Shaoqing is your friend, Senior Chu. How could I have any objections? I have no objections. When Ling Yunkong saw Chu Kuang, he was like a mouse seeing a cat. He was scared to death. Humph, in the future you'd better not use the name of the Floating Mountain Martial School to do evil things. Also, Brother Lu's friend, if you dare to touch a hair on your head again, I will cut you down with my knife. Chu Kuang's eyes flickered with an ominous glint as he looked at Ling Yunkong. I don't dare, I definitely don't dare. Ling Yunkong nodded his head repeatedly, cold sweat dripping down his back. Get lost. Chu Kuang coldly shouted. Ling Yunkong hurriedly ran away in fear. This Ling Yunkong seems to be very afraid of you, Lu Ming said. I've taught him a few times in the past. There was also a Heaven's favorite who was similar to Ling Yunkong. The 2 of them were always up to no good. I chopped off one of them. He was afraid that I would chop off his head too. Chu Kuang said with a smile. Lu Ming nodded. Ling Yunkong was extremely afraid of Chu Kuang. Chu Kuang's innate talent was much greater than Ling Yunkong's. Even if he killed Ling Yunkong, the higher-ups of the Floating Mountain Martial School wouldn't stand up for him. The floating mountain was really huge. The two of them flew on the mountain for hundreds of thousands of miles and came to the edge of a cliff. On the edge of the cliff there was a courtyard. "Wenjing, I'm here," Chu Kuang called out as they arrived at the courtyard. Not long after, the door of the courtyard opened and a young woman walked out. The young woman had a graceful figure and skin as white as snow. She was very beautiful in a light yellow dress. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Zhang Wenjin, ranked third among the top 10 proud children of heaven of the Floating Mountain sect, was this woman. Zhang Wenjin was one of the 3 geniuses of the Floating Mountain Martial School who were at least a third-class heaven's favorite. "Brother Chu, you're here. You're 2 days late," the young woman said. "Ah, don't blame me for being quiet. I just made a new friend and drank with him for 2 more days. So I rushed over." Chu Kuang laughed and continued to introduce. "Wenjin, this is Brother Lu Xiaoqing. Brother Lu, this is my junior sister, Zhang Wenjin," Chu Kuang said. "You're Lu Xiaoqing?" Before Lu Ming could say anything, Zhang Wenjin spoke up and looked at Lu Ming curiously. "Have you heard of my name before, Wenjin?" Lu Ming said. "Of course I've heard of you. You suppressed Ling Yun Kong and defeated Hai Ziming. Now the news has spread all over the Floating Mountain Martial School. How could I not know?" Zhang Wenjin smiled. "Haha, I believe that Brother Lu's name will soon spread throughout the central continent." Chu Kuang laughed. Zhang Wenjing was slightly surprised. It seemed that Chu Kuang liked Lu Xiaoqing very much. Obviously, Zhang Wenjin had not heard about the battle for the Pure Water Lotus Throne. If she had, she would not be so surprised. "Wenjing, let's go. Let's set off for the Pillar of Heaven's mountains," Chu Kuang said. This place was quite far from the Heavenly Jewel Mountain, and he had to leave as soon as possible. Zhang Wenjin nodded. Then the 3 of them flew out of the floating mountain and headed northwest. Cold Blood Hall was located to the north of the floating mountain. It was an overlord force close to the floating mountain and the East Baron. The Sky Eagle Castle was to the west of Cold Blood Hall. Sky Pillar Mountain was in the middle of Cold Blood Hall and Sky Eagle Castle, northwest of Floating Mountain. It was very far away. In the East Baron it was at least 50 regions away. It was obviously impossible to travel such a distance by flying. It was too slow. They first took the teleportation array and teleported to the area near the Pillar of Heaven's mountains. Then they flew away. The Pillar of Heaven's mountains was a barren land, surrounded by mountains. The 3 of them flew for several days before they suddenly stopped in front of a forest. What a strong smell of blood. Zhang Wenjin's expression changed. Lu Ming's and Chu Kuang's faces darkened as well. They could also smell the extremely thick stench of blood. The smell of blood came from the mountain on the right. "Let's go and take a look." Chu Kuang was the first to fly in that direction. Lu Ming and Zhang Wenjin followed. Not long after, they discovered the source of the bloody smell. In the mountains there was a stone castle. It was a small town with many people living in it, but now, everyone here was dead. The town was filled with dead bodies. The 3 of them swept their gazes across the sky. They estimated that no less than 100,000 people had died. They had become corpses. The air was filled with blood qi. No wonder the 3 of them could smell the blood from so far away. Who is it? He actually killed so many people, most of whom were just ordinary people. Zhang Wenjin's face turned pale. The blood qi here is all gathering in one direction, Lu Ming said. He observed carefully and realized that the blood qi in the air was all gathering in one direction. Could it be the Cold Blood Hall? Chu Kuang's eyes moved. The Cold Blood Hall's cultivation was mostly related to blood. However, due to its overbearing and terrifying cultivation, it had once incurred the dissatisfaction of other forces. They had joined forces to pressure Cold Blood Hall, and they had also promised not to attack ordinary people. But now, most of the people who had died here were ordinary people. The 3 of them looked at each other and slowly walked in the direction where the blood qi was gathering. There's a person there. Zhang Wenjin sent a message to the 2. In the center of the town, a middle-aged man in a blood-red robe was sitting cross-legged, and the smell of blood was soaring from his body. Endless blood qi was gathering towards him and entering his body. The bloodthirsty technique. It's an expert from Cold Blood Hall. Let's go. Chu Kuang muttered. His eyes revealed a trace of seriousness as he wanted to retreat. At this moment, the middle-aged man in the blood-red robe suddenly opened his eyes, and a cold and cruel killing intent burst out. Chapter 10:15. 1015 Chapter 1015 Fighting the Spiritual God. 3 Heaven's favorites with vigorous chi and blood. Ah, the heavens are on my side. Die. The middle-aged man in the blood-red robe stretched out his hand and clenched his fist in the air. Immediately, 5 blood-red ribbons spread out like 5 soft whips and rolled toward the 3 of them. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 of them erupted at the same time. Chu Kuang slashed out 2 cold blade lights towards 2 of the blood-red ribbons. Lu Ming cast the prison-suppressing heavenly art and struck out 2 palms consecutively at the 2 blood-colored ribbons. Zhang Wenjing, on the other hand, slashed out a sky-blue sword chi and collided with one of the blood-colored ribbons. 5 consecutive explosions were heard. Lu Ming was forced to take more than 10 steps back. Chu Kuang was in a similar state. Zhang Wenjin was in a better state. She was only forced to take 7 or 8 steps back. After all, she was only dealing with 1 ribbon. A spiritual God realm master. The 3 of them had a thought at the same time, and their expressions became extremely serious. To be able to repel the 3 of them with a casual attack, it was definitely in existence in the spiritual God realm. What? The middle-aged man in the blood-red robe was surprised that he did not kill Lu Ming and the other 2 with 1 strike. However, he was overjoyed soon after. Haha, the 3 of you can be considered third-class heaven's favorites. Your chi and blood are thick. Kill. The middle-aged man in the blood-red robe laughed and waved his fingers. 10 blood-red ribbons wrapped around Lu Ming and the other 2. This ribbon seemed to be light, but it was terrifyingly powerful. As it streaked through the air, it let out a terrifying whistling sound. Let's go, charge out. Chu Kuang shouted. A 7th-level divine bloodline appeared above his head as he immediately executed the bloodline fusion. He did not dare to be careless in the face of a spiritual God realm master, as carelessness would mean death. Zhang Wenjin also performed bloodline fusion. Lu Ming did not use the blood meridian fusion, but he also burst out with 3 bursts of dragon energy. Each attack was extremely terrifying. Boom, boom. The 3 of them joined forces and launched a powerful attack, instantly destroying the 10 blood-red ribbons. The 3 of them were about to fly away. Wanna leave? Blood cage. The middle-aged man in the blood-red robe still did not get up. He sat there with his legs crossed and struck out with his hands continuously. Immediately, countless blood-red ribbons appeared in the sky, forming a cage made of blood-red ribbons, locking the 3 of them inside. The 3 of them fought back. The blood-red cage shook continuously, but they couldn't break it for a while. Slash. The blood-robed middle-aged man shouted coldly. With a snap of his fingers, 3 terrifying blood-red blade lights slashed towards the 3 of them. Bang, bang, bang. The 3 of them tried their best to resist the blood-red blade light, but in the end Chu Kuang and Zhang Wenjin's bloodlines trembled non-stop and they almost turned back into their human forms. Lu Ming also felt a burning pain all over his body. The chi and blood in his body were in turmoil and he almost vomited blood. Fortunately, Lu Ming's defense was terrifying and he successfully blocked it. Break. Lu Ming continued to increase the power of the prison destructive heaven technique. After a few consecutive punches, the blood-red cage finally collapsed. The 3 of them quickly rushed out. You wanna leave? No way. The blood-robed middle-aged man suddenly stood up. His entire body was filled with blood chi. He raised one hand and slashed out 3 blade auras in a row. They crossed thousands of meters in the void in an instant and slashed toward the 3 people. These 3 blade lights were extremely terrifying, as if they could split the 3 of them in half. Not good. Chu Kuang was shocked and furious. He had a feeling that he would die under this knife. Voila. At this moment, Lu Ming's glabella glowed. The mountain and river diagram flew out and surrounded the 3 of them. Then it flew forward rapidly. Bang, bang, bang. The 3 saber beams struck the mountain and river diagram but failed to tear it apart. Part of the force was blocked by the mountain and river diagram, but there was still a part of the force that passed through the mountain and river diagram and fell on Lu Ming, Chu Kuang, and Zhang Wenjin. Chu Kuang and Zhang Wenjing turned into their human forms and spat out mouthfuls of blood. Lu Ming's body trembled violently. His skin was cut open and blood flowed out. Lu Ming endured it and flew forward with Chu Kuang and Zhang Wenjin. Damn it. The blood-robed middle-aged man growled, but he didn't pursue. Instead, after his expression changed, he continued to sit cross-legged and absorb the blood chi around him. The three of them flew for more than 100,000 miles and landed in a valley. After landing, the three of them sat down cross-legged and began to heal their injuries. In comparison, Lu Ming's injuries were not serious. The dragon scales hidden under his skin blocked most of the force. After 2 hours, Lu Ming had fully recovered and the healing ended. He took a look and found that Chu Kuang and Zhang Wenjin were still healing. There's still a huge gap between me and a spiritual god realm powerhouse. Lu Ming was deep in thought. The difference between the spirit embryo realm and the spiritual god realm was too great. There was a huge chasm between these two realms. Most importantly, the conditions to break through to the spiritual god realm were too high. Ordinary martial artists or ordinary Heaven's Pride experts could not break through to the spiritual god realm at all. Those who were able to break through to the spiritual god realm were all geniuses among geniuses. This caused the gap between the two realms to be even greater. In reality, the higher the cultivation, the greater the gap between the major cultivation realms would be. It would become more and more terrifying and difficult to cross. Lu Ming was only at the peak of the 8th level spirit embryo realm. It was too difficult and almost impossible for him to cross such a huge distance and fight with a spiritual god realm expert. It might be possible when he attained the great circle of the spirit embryo realm. The middle-aged man in the blood-red robe must have been injured. He's recuperating now. Lu Ming secretly thought. If the other party had not been injured, they might not have been able to rush out. After a few more hours, Chu Kuang and Zhang Wenjin finally opened their eyes and finished their treatment. Thank you for your help this time, Brother Lu. Chu Kuang stood up and expressed his gratitude to Lu Ming. If not for Lu Ming, they would not have been able to escape. Brother Chu is too polite. Lu Ming waved his hands. That cold-blood hall expert should be an expert in the first level of the spiritual god realm. For some reason he was injured, so he massacred the town and used the blood of the entire town to heal his wounds. We happened to run into him. Chu Kuang analyzed. Lu Ming nodded. Chu Kuang had the same thoughts as him. However, it was too cruel to kill an entire town of ordinary people to heal their injuries. The three of them chatted for a while before leaving and heading in the direction of the Pillar of Heaven's mountains. The matters of spiritual god realm powerhouses were not something they could interfere with, and they did not have the ability to do so. After flying for another 2 days, a huge mountain appeared in front of them. The Pillar of Heaven's mountain, as its name suggested, was like a pillar that pierced through the earth, piercing through the clouds. It stood among the many peaks and could be seen with a single glance. Legend had it that the Pillar of Heaven's mountains was a giant mountain formed from the weapon of an ancient supreme expert. There were still 2 days before the battle between Shui Luozi and Yin Biupa. The three of them settled down in a small city nearby. In the small town, people came and went, and it was very lively. This is the first battle between second-grade geniuses after the Battle of Karmic Luck. So many people have been attracted. Chu Kuang looked around and sighed. In the small city, the people walking on the streets were all experts. Any one of them had a cultivation above the spirit embryo realm, and there were men and women of all ages. It was obvious that they were here for the battle between the two heavens' favorites. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.